We'll hydrate for Faye in the beginning of every
Hydrate
episode.
for Faye. Also gonna hydrate for Little Nueng's audacity.
Yeah. Cheers, queers! What's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today we are continuing our discussion of Blank the series, and today we'll be covering episode 2. Season 1, episode 2. Woo! Sorry, there are seasons. I'm not used to seasons. Thanks, America. All right, if you're here, it's because you're queer, and you've heard this all before, so like and comment and join the Discord, do all those things. For Blank fans specifically, we reacted to the entirety of Blank the series. The full reactions are on our Patreon, so for $5 a month, you get access to exclusive Blank content that won't be on YouTube because we don't have time to edit all of that. So it's on Patreon. Go have fun there. Also, all of Gap the series is on there, so have fun with that. If not, we'll just be dropping these discussion episodes, select reactions on YouTube, podcast platforms, so like, comment, please do all the things. If you stick around to the end, Kaitlyn's going to give you another super secret, super fun bonus word that we would really appreciate you put in a comment or a review because it brings us joy.
Just like queer content. Just like blank.
Just like blank. Yeah, queer content. Insert queer content blank. Also blank. All right, so with that, let's get into it. I'm gonna have to hydrate for Lesbian Jesus because blank. All right, so what?
It's just a wild journey.
It's a wild journey. I wouldn't change it for anything. It's a mess, but I love it. All right, let's get into episode 2. So episode 2 picks up exactly where episode 1 left off, with little Nung being big mad. And she has the confidence and the audacity to remind Chet she explicitly told him to leave Big Nung alone because she caught them in the elevator. That's where we left off. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? I told you no.
I mean, like, the audacity of this girl. Like, just, she has no perceptive that, like, she's not in the right to, like, tell people they can't do something. But
she does not give a fuck. I kind of love that about her. Anyway, she doesn't give a flying fuck. She's just like, hands off, that's mine. And he's like, isn't this the kid from yesterday? Why is she here? Which is a valid question.
It is valid. He's just like, when did you have a child?
Right, yeah. Also, like, this is your apartment. What is this child doing here? Valid. But Big Nung very classically doesn't answer anybody. She just, like, sits there and is, like, all shifty-eyed. Kind of like she was caught doing something wrong, which she's an adult having a conversation with another adult, so, like, and this kid is mad at her. So really, like, you're fine, but she's like, oh, fuck. But, like, I was wondering that one of the first times I watched this, like, why is Chet here? Like, why did Nung let him into her apartment complex? Like, it was weird that he was here, like, in her, like, her home, which I thought was kind of weird.
I feel like he invited himself over there and then probably does what everyone else does and was like, I'll bring food.
I maybe. He does kind of know her. But I'm wondering if it's, like, more than that. Because, like, at this point, it's pretty obvious, even early on, that, like, Nung carries a bunch of guilt that's unresolved, coming from, like, her runaway bride moment. Because, like, that's what led to, like, the falling outs in her family, basically. And ruined a bunch of relationships, like her grandmother. And then, like, you know, Sam got put in the middle of all this bullshit. And yes, Nung's like, hey, that was the right thing for me to do. But, you know, there's consequences to that. And one of them was, like, hurting Chet. Like, I mean, she didn't, like love him, but, like, she wasn't trying to be malicious and, like, hurt him, you know? So I wonder if she agreed to see him as a way to, like, make amends, basically. Because she feels like she keeps bringing this up where she's like, why aren't you angry? You should be angry. You should hate me. And he's like, whatever. You're an opportunity for me. I'm not going to be mad because he's, you know, ulterior motives. But for Nung, I think she's like, she's got that self-deprecating streak. So I wonder if she's like, it would hurt more to bring, like, a reminder of her past into her apartment. Like one of those kind of things.
Sense that she would still feel guilty because like she's not running away from the people, she's running away from the expectations.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, it was really funny to watch her run away from Chet because she's like, ha, you can't catch me. Even though he should have caught her when she was running away as the bride. But anyway, she wasn't being malicious towards him. That was more like a middle finger to the grandmam. But he just happened to like be part of the collateral damage, you know?
And not try hard enough.
Yeah, and I think maybe he took this as encouragement if she like let him into her apartment because he's an opportunist. He's here to like get the ultimate trophy wife so he looks good on the political stage kind of thing. So anyway,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, Little Nung's like, that's mine, hands off. So, in a jealous rage, she basically invites herself into Big Nung's apartment, which was hilarious. And she, like, forces herself in. It's so fucking funny. Anyway. Because, who's this man? So she's like, who is this man? Why is he here? I'm your girlfriend. I need to know who that man is. I'm sorry. Her delusion is hilarious. To be fair, she says this, and then Big Nung does not correct her. So, like, it's partially Big Nung's fault that, like, this keeps spiraling out of control. Because, like, Little Nung will say shit like this, and then Big Nung never corrects her. So, like, she just keeps going with the, you're my girlfriend
She
thing.
doesn't correct her the first time. When she keeps saying it following this, she says, you're delusional. But she never said no.
No, I'm not. Exactly. She never says no. So, there's subtext encouragement happening here, coming from Nung, Big Nung. So, instead of correcting her and being like, we're not dating, Big Nung is honest and tells Little Nung that, I almost married that man. And Little Nung's reaction is the funniest fucking thing on the planet, where she, like, turns up the drama, and she's like, she caves forward, and she's, like, clutching her chest, she's like, oh my god, and then Big Nung gets worried. She's like, oh my god, are you okay? What's going on? And Little Nung's like, my heart's breaking. She gives her this face. It's so funny. Oh my god.
It's the way she looks up at her and says it, though. Because
it's so funny.
That's what makes it. Because you're like, oh no, like, she looks like something's really wrong. And
right.
Poor Big Nung has this with her grandmother.
Right. She's seen this, like, and she's like, oh god, shit.
Everyone around me having heart issues.
Right. So this is real, and the Little Nung's just like, my heart's breaking. She's like, little asshole. But I appreciate the fact that she's trying to, like, use her humor to mask her pain. Because Big Nung gets mad. She's like, ugh, whatever, and walks away. And then when she walks away, you see, like, at the end, a second of, like, Little Nung start to panic. Because she is genuinely worried, and I think she's using her childish behavior kind of as a defense mechanism here to, like, mask the fact that she is concerned about this. But I think part of it, too, is a lot of her behavior. She's trying to see what Big Nung's gonna, like, what her reaction is, which was to get worried immediately. So that's, like, a win, in a way, for her.
Yeah, for her, she's, like, a child. Children are, like, very, like, I don't know the right way to say this. Like, they have such an open mind. Like, nothing can really, you can't hurt them easily like you can with an adult because, like, they're delusional, basically. Like,
they're resilient.
So,
they're delusional.
Yeah, that. They have confidence, man. That like, I don't know when we lose that confidence, but
the world beats us down.
She's definitely using the child regression as the coping mechanism and making sure to protect herself in vulnerable situations.
Yeah.
And that is why we get this all the time with Big Nung.
Yeah. It starts going away later, but yeah, at this stage, we're like,
it starts going away when Big Nung starts reciprocating. And
exactly.
Like, the security is there more.
Agreed. They're on polar opposites of the spectrum right now in terms of, like, not age. I mean, yes, but like I guess openness is the best way to put it. Like, Little Nung is very open with the way she feels all the time, and Big Nung is very regressed in her own way and very closed off all the time. So, like, it takes the water dripping on the stone a million times to get her to open up. So that's kind of what's happening here until eventually, like, everybody's walls start coming down, and then they start talking to each other, like, quote, like adults, I guess, in a way. But right now we just get these hilarious interactions where, like, little Nung has to keep, like, poking the bear until the bear does something. That's what keeps happening here. It's so funny.
I feel like this is a way of I don't know anything about flirting. I don't know anything about relationships.
Oh, no. You're right. It is.
I feel like this is definitely a form of flirt. It just be like, look at me, I'm cute.
Yes. That is 100% what she's doing.
How can I push your buttons? Like, I'm still here. Don't forget about me.
It's very obvious once they get inside the apartment that is exactly what she's doing. Because, like, Yoko will do these faces, like, she's trying to be, like, seductive, and, like, Big Nung's like, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? But anyway, we'll get there in, like, 2 scenes. Okay, so yeah, speaking of the apartment. So little Nung, again, invites herself inside Big Nung's apartment, which... And Big Nung's like, absolutely not. You're not coming into my apartment. That's crossing a line. You're just bad enough you know where I live and can track me down at will. But little Nung's like, but... Bags of food, I brought you snacks. And Big Nung's like, wait a minute, reconsider, because food equals affection, and also she's broke. So she instantly caves when she sees the food. She's like, you brought me food? All right, fine, you can come in. And I love little Nung's triumphant face when she gets on the other side of the door, because she just figured out her girl's love language. So that's another thing she will file away forever and always use to get whatever she wants out of Big Nung. So good job, girl.
Big Nung's weakness is food.
Like, absolutely.
I feel like that's how she would get murdered. They would lure her in with food.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You're just speaking facts.
Yeah.
So, inside the apartment, they clear up the fact that Big Nung is not dating Chet, and he did not spend the night, which is the other thing little Nung was worried about. She's like, how could you do that to me? How could you spend the night with him? She's like, he just showed up at my apartment, and I sent him away. Like, what do you mean? It's fine. And little Nung's like, okay, great. And then she starts snooping around, because she's in Big Nung's house. She has to snoop. Like, that's just what you do. And she ends up, like, looking at all the paintings, and she's like, wow, you did all this? You're so good at art or whatever. And Big Nung, takes the flattery always. She's like, that's right, I'm great. And she's, like, laying out the food. I love this thing where, like, little Nung brings the food, but then Big Nung has to put the effort into prepare it, which I think is objectively funny. All right. And then we get this hilarious exchange, which, to your point, Kaitlynn, is overt flirting, right? That's happening. And it reminds me of an actual, like... conversation these two had, like, off screen. You sent me the TikTok where it sounds a lot like this exchange.
Oh, yeah. It does.
Yeah. Okay. Big Nung's like, finishes preparing the food. Little Nung is in the room with the paintings. And then she calls her. She says, come here and eat. And Little Nung spins around and she's like, really? And then, like, saunters into the room and she comes up to her and she's like, eat what? And then, like, proceeds to check out Big Nung, like, overtly. And then, like, the confidence and the audacity. Like, Big Nung's tagline is, no one's worthy of me, and then Little Nung's is confidence and audacity. That's just her brand.
I don't know if they're, like, purposefully acting like the characters in, like, fan event stuff.
It's possible.
But if they aren't, like, they are the exact same in real life, and it's
right.
Hilarious.
They literally have this conversation in real life. And then when Big Nung calls her out, she's like, what the hell? Like, what do you mean? I'm just talking about food. Why are you gonna make it sexual? And then Little Nung pouts, like, damn, my flirting didn't work. This is so funny.
She's like, children. Man. I mean, like, she made that. She opened up it to be like that. So it's really Big Nung's fault.
It is. It is. Absolutely is. Okay, so Big Nung is like, all right, we're teetering to flirting territory and sexual innuendos. Absolutely not. So she tries to shut this shit down by, like, clearing up the age gap of it all. Because she's like, how old do you think I am that you're sitting here oogling me and trying to, like, make sexual jokes of me?
Yeah, this whole scene is hilarious.
It is.
Okay, so now I'm getting their names, real names, and because we don't typically, like, research the actors when we talk about things, but I know a little too much about these two at this point, so now I almost said Yoko. So Little Nung starts by guessing that Big Nung is 26. which valid. I also said that. And then Big Nung's like, no. And then Little Nung guesses 28. And I was like, this is the same trajectory my brain went when I was like 26, 28. Like that's it, right? And then Big Nung's like, I'm not that fond of flattery. And then she's like, I'm 36. And Little Nung drops what she was eating. And it's so funny. Because, like, the shock. But then I was like, I need to look up their real ages. Because I don't believe that Faye is 36. She's not. Faye is 30. And she was, like, 29 when filming this. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. My brain isn't that broken. And then, all for purposes, Yoko just turned 23 yesterday when we were filming this. And so she was probably 21 or 22 when filming. So basically, the age gap.
Yeah. The age gap, yeah. In summary, Big Nung is a 36-year-old who looks 10 years younger. And just, you know what? To quote Lucille Bluth, good for her. She's an ageless millennial. No one knows how old she is. That's just part of the generation. It's like if you looked at Taylor Swift, you wouldn't know how old she is either. You're like,
oh no, I don't know. No, I don't know.
Right, Taylor Swift. I'm the same age as Taylor Swift. Like she doesn't we just look younger than we actually are. It's just classic. So like, but yeah. Like this whole thing explains a lot of why like. Later they get into conversations where Big Nung's like, why don't you like speak to me like you're elder? And it's because this bitch thought you were 26. Like, so she wasn't ever using formal language with you. She's like, oh, she's just a few years older than me. That's fine. So can't blame her. Also, again, Big Nung, you never correct her. So like we are where we are. Okay. But yeah, I love that the actors are pretty close to the ages, which is just hilarious. Anyway. Big Nung's 36. Little Nung is 21 or 20. So I love her too, where she's like, I'm 21. I mean, I'm 20 going on 21. Yeah. So
I'll be there soon.
She's so funny. And then Big Nung's like, wait a minute. Why are you in high school? You're supposed to be in college. I don't understand. And then we get the explanation they give. Okay, and I'll explain. I think this is fine, but like the explanation they give is that she's like, well, you know, I was a premature baby. She spent a lot of time in the NICU, so she had a bunch of health problems. So because when she was younger, she had a bunch of health problems, they held her. She didn't start school. She was like 3 years behind when she actually started school. Which she should be, I guess she should be 21. So I guess that kind of fits. So the setup that bothered me for a while when I was watching the show is that she's mentally a child in an adult body. And it's like, and that's hella problematic on the surface, truly.
But like, if you see the rest of it, she really isn't, though.
I know.
Like, I find this whole situation very suspicious, and I think it's man-made. It's definitely.
Oh, it is.
The control over her, because I think she would have been fine.
I think so too.
I mean, was she maybe just in like hospitals or something as a child too much? Because I know they translated as fill up on medicine, but yeah, I don't know. I need more backstory for this 3-year delay.
I think so too, because like later when we talk to her, when we meet her mother, and her mother's like, you know, Little Nung spent a long time in the NICU, like the ICU for newborns. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm curious what the degree of her health problems really were, because now she doesn't seem to have any, which is the weird part.
You would, because if you have that much health issues growing up, you're going to have like continued care.
Correct, right? If it was that bad, it wouldn't. To me, it wouldn't be something she grew out of, you know. So that's weird. Also, I have to note that this was a change in the show only to change the ages of the actors, because in the book, Little Nung is 18. There is no holding her back. She just was a senior in high school. She's 18. And then Big Nung was, I think, 34. The gap was the same, it's just they were 2 years younger.
I don't know if that's a big change. Like,
I don't really care.
I think, I don't either.
No, she's still an adult either way.
They were just like, put a 2 in there so it doesn't look like it's a 20-year age gap with the numbers. I don't
Or
know.
they're like, you can't be like, she's a teenager, therefore a child. I think they're trying to like skirt the pedophilia.
They were like, they knew like this
allegations.
shit was gonna happen, and they were trying to mitigate it as much as possible. But
I
like,
think so.
it wasn't gonna work. Like, you were always gonna get this. Just
Yeah,
go
this was
with
just
it.
weird. But anyway, like, sure. The only evidence that she had health problems was glasses, which is not evidence of a health problem. Which I don't understand why do we keep harping on that? It's so weird. Anyway,
That maybe she just sat in front of the TV too close, right?
she just, or her grandmother's obsessed with her studying and she burnt her eyes out from reading too much. Like, that also happens. You don't need to be prematurely born for that to happen. Anyway.
That's a whole nother conversation we will get into in a few episodes.
Yeah, unfortunately, we'll get to that. Damn. Okay, but before we get there, a little piece of fuckery that we have to, like, was brought to our attention now. Okay, when Little Nung is like, oh, you're she's like, oh shit, you're really old. And Big Nung's like offended. She's 36. Little Nung makes the comment, she's like, you're the same age as my mom. So, put a pin in that. So with that, Big Nung asks about her mother. She's like, wow, your mother must have had you when she was like your age, when she was young. And once Big Nung mentions that, Little Nung starts to shrink in on herself, and she doesn't say anything. And Big Nung notices that, like, this behavior, and she's like, did that just make you feel uncomfortable? What I just asked you? And this is why I love Big Nung so much, because she's treating Little Nung like a human being. And nobody else does this. And for the most part, she's most of the time in the show, she's very conscious of Little Nung's feelings and observes her behavior enough to notice when she's upset or uncomfortable. And she communicates with her. And to me, that's one of the reasons I like this show in general, because a lot of times in shows, that doesn't happen, and then it creates these like misunderstandings that could easily be dealt with one conversation, and that's the drama. Whereas like that's not the drama with these two. The drama with these two is a lot more grounded and less misunderstandings kind of thing.
It's outside forces.
Yeah, exactly. And the drama is these two dealing with that stuff, and they communicate with each other very directly most of the time in the show, unless they're like intentionally, like Big Nung really intentionally omitting information to, like, in her mind, protect the other character. But that's the only time there's ever, like, quote, misunderstandings. It's like omission by design kind of thing. And what I like about this particular conversation, where Big Nung's like, are you uncomfortable with this question? And they keep talking about it, and Little Nung, like, does open up about her mother. This is probably one of the first times they have, like, a real conversation with each other. And Little Nung tells Big Nung that her mother, the reason her mother's not in her life is because she was shipped overseas by her grandmother. Okay, so this wasn't, like, her mom's choice. Like, the grandmother sent her abroad because she was trying to avoid the social scandal of having a daughter who's an unwed teenage mother. So to avoid the shame, she literally ships her mother away, robbing both Little Nung's mom and Little Nung of their mother-daughter relationship. And by default, the grandmother is then in, like, the sole custody owner of Little Nung. And then Little Nung's like, I've never met my mother, which, like, how? I guess, like, did the grandmother, like, banish her, and she's like, you can never come back to Thailand? Like, what the fuck
I really don't understand this. Like, because she says at some point, like, she calls every once in a while.
So, like,
so she's like, talk to her, but I feel like that's weirder to, like, talk to a person you don't know. You're like, oh, you're my mom, but I can't ever see you.
Right.
And the grandmother, like, she's the reason for so many issues.
Agreed. And because of that, now Little Nung has major mommy issues, which I recognize is one way to absolutely read her fixation on Big Nung, because this girl has mommy issues. But really, they both have mommy issues, because Big Nung was an orphan. So, anyway. And, like, this whole thing... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, we've talked about how their trauma is very similar, and that's why they have to heal together. And it's actually a beautiful journey.
I agree. But, like, remember, the root of this is all her grandmother did all this damage because she was trying to avoid a scandal. And then... it's just fucking...
We're about to create an even bigger one.
Right. But back to the Nung. So Big Nung hears all of this and takes it in and is very empathetic towards Little Nung's story. Which, again, is this all new behavior that Little Nung is receiving, right? Because Big Nung doesn't dismiss her or preach, you need to love your parents no matter what or how fucking terrible they are because, like, familial loyalty and all that bullshit. Like, Big Nung listens to her, treats her like a person, and is, like, genuinely, like, empathizes with her in this moment. And that's... I feel like that meant everything to Little Nung, because she never gets that. She's always dismissed or just ignored, you know?
Yeah. I hate how people treat her.
Me too. I hate it.
So bad. And, like, you
terrible.
see the huge difference between Chet and Big Nung. Because, like, Chet immediately infantiles her. Infantilizes her. Thank you.
He does. Oh, absolutely. Until he's like, my daughter, and then he suddenly treats her better. Like, he's such a dick to her, like, initially.
Well, yes. But he still treats her like the same.
Absolutely. No, he treats her like property. But, like, he is very dismissive of her until somehow she's connected to him. He's a dick to her.
I can't stand him.
I can't stand him either. He's just... Ugh. He's everything that's wrong with patriarchal societies. That's why he's in here. It's true. He's
very
also,
true.
He's very controlling of everybody, and it's just I love that Big Nung outranks him because she puts him in his place. She's like, shut the fuck up, Chet, and he can't argue with her. It's great. Anyway, enough about Chet because he's the worst. So, all right, after they eat the snacks, Big Nung's like, all right, get out of my apartment. And she goes to, like, open the door so Little Nung can leave. And Little Nung, like, ambushes and, like, hugs her from behind like a little koala. And Big Nung was not expecting this. So she just, like, freezes for a minute and is like, okay, what do I do? I know. Get the fuck off me. I can't breathe. I love when she's like, I can't breathe. No, what the fuck, girl? Anyway. And Little Nung is so sad and just like, can you please let me hug you? Just like, it's heartbreaking because, again, what we have here is two touch-starved human beings that are very desperate for affection. And who knows when the last time Big Nung had a hug was? Let's be honest.
Did she ever have... Maybe with Sam.
I think Sam. Just Sam. We don't know about Song, but just Sam, for sure.
Yeah.
Sam's very touchy-feely.
But yeah, she definitely has not had a hug. She probably doesn't even, like, want them. I mean, she wants them, I feel like, but she pulls away because of all the trauma and issues going on. But there's nothing like a nice hug.
Yeah. And yeah, so I think that's why she initially, like, hesitates and, like, hangs her head. Because, like, she likes it because touch-starved. But it's just, like, the chaos of this relationship, just, like, Lil Nung's family, the family scandals and all that stuff. It's just too much, and she's way more aware of it than Little Nung is. Because Little Nung is very much, like, instant gratification. I just want a hug. And Big Nung's like, oh, the scandals this will bring, you know? So she pulls away, and then when she does, like, and Little Nung's like, fine, I let go. She just looks so dejected and sad, and Big Nung doesn't have the heart to, like, kick the puppy while it's sad, so she indulges Little Nung and herself with, like, the little head pat that she does. And it's really cute. She, like, kind of like, she does, like, Don't Be Cry, like, from 30 Rock, where she's, like, kind of, like, petting her, and then when Little Nung looks at her, then she, like, really, like, caresses her head, like, in an actually affectionate way. It's the first time that, like, Big Nung initiates physical contact with her, and it leaves a lasting impression on Little Nung, we'll just say that. Alright, so with Little Nung, the minute you give her a scrap of affection, she runs with that shit. So Little Nung's like, are you going to work? I'm coming with you. And this is one of their funniest exchanges, where they're in the hallway, and Little Nung just wears Big Nung down until she says, yes, you can come to work with me. And two, allows Little Nung to cling to her. And this is, like, the funniest thing, because it's classic 30-year-old, because Big Nung doesn't have the energy for this. And it's so relatable and hilarious. And she's just like, even if I say no, you're just gonna come with me anyway, right? And she's like, yep. She's like, oh.
She's like, I've seen this film before. Every single time I say no, you keep following me like a little
Right.
puppy. So
It's like this film is stuck on repeat. And I just love that she's let's be clear though, this behavior is like not healthy coming from Little Nung, where she's like, even if you say no, I'm gonna do it anyway. Like, that's not great. But Big Nung is very half-heartedly like putting up fights here. And truly I think she likes having someone that challenges her in the same way in Gap that like Mon challenging her was what Sam was into initially. Like, that was their attraction in the beginning. So it's like kind of the same thing in a way. And I think Big Nung likes the fact that, like, Little Nung keeps fighting over and over and over. No matter how many times she says no, like, Little Nung just keeps going. Because you just gave her a head pat. She's not going to say no. She's like, absolutely not. You just showed me your hand, so I'm going to keep doing this.
that's also what Little Nung promised her.
And she's keeping the promise. She's keeping the promise. And what I love in the scene is at the end where Big Nung's like, fine, I guess you're coming with me. And she like pushes her away and she sighs. And like as she's trying to pull her arm back, Little Nung launches herself at Big Nung's arm. It's like she can't escape her. And it's like the funniest like choreography I've ever seen. Just if do yourself a favor, go back and watch just Little Nung in this scene. It's so funny the way she lunges and she's like, nope, you're not escaping me. Like, it's so fucking funny. She's a stage 5 Klingon and I fucking think it's hilarious.
She's like either a koala or a sloth. Well, I mean, she's fast, so koala.
She's a koala on caffeine. So the Nungs go off to work, which in this instance is an art gallery, like a legit gallery, okay? Because remember, Nung's like, I'm going to sell a big painting. Here we are. So she's selling a painting to essentially the art gallery, which good for her, you know? And at the gallery, she has a heart-to-heart with Little Nung, who's, like, seeing her girlfriend in action, like, selling art to a big gallery. And she's just, like, throwing the praise onto Big Nung. She's like, you're number one, you're the best artist in the world. And Big Nung is just soaking in all that praise because that's her kink, let's be real. Let's not lie to ourselves. Food and praise. That's her thing.
Yes, that is fully just all of that makes her happy.
Yep. And Little Nung's clocking all these things, so she knows. And again, Big Nung's like preening, and she's like, obviously I'm number one. I can't be ordinary like everybody else. I'm exceptional. And, like, it seems like an arrogant thing to say because it is. But it's unsurprising because she was raised basically in an environment where she was taught to be better than everyone else because of the way the grandmam treated her. And on some level, I think she also, like, does expect that. That changed her behavior. She expects to be better than everyone else. And I think was probably used to just everybody always treating her differently. But here, like, again, why is Little Nung saying this? Little Nung is saying this not because she's royalty. She has no fucking idea. She's saying this praise because she genuinely believes these things. She's like, I genuinely think you're talented. I'm very proud of you. Like, this is a big deal. Like, good for you kind of thing. You know, I love that because she's treating Nung like a person, not a princess. And I think that's why their relationship, like, solidifies so well because it is very organic. It's just at the heart of it at the beginning. It's just two people that happen to meet and just get along. And yeah, I think that's very meaningful to Big Nung.
Well, just meet or one person looking from afar and like you are my person now. I shall get you to like me.
Yep, no, that's Little Nung's MO. All right, so then unfortunately, we leave that and transition to the uncomfortable part of this conversation where Little Nung is pondering. She's like, I don't understand. Like, you're so great and you're the best person on the planet. Why are you still single? And Big Nung's like, well, I don't like anybody. And she's like, well, I know why. You want to know why you haven't fallen in love with anybody? And she's like, no. And she's like, well, it's because you were waiting for me to be born, obviously. And now that I'm here, you can't escape me, which is such a weird sentence to say. It's so
and weird. A weird thing to say out loud.
In public.
Like, you're waiting for me to be born. That is weird.
And then you can't escape me. Also not great. Not great. But the sentiment is like, the sentiment is there. Execution. Very weird. Very weird. And she again launches herself at Big Nung and like pulls her into a hug because she can't escape, right? And there's this like for like a good 2 seconds, there's this look on Big Nung's face, like where she's thinking about this. She's like, "Oh fuck, is that why? Is that why I've never had feelings before?" Because think about Big Nung. The other thing about Big Nung, what's happening with her, is the best comparison I can come up with is Villanelle from Killing Eve. So if you've ever seen that show, the premise of that character is that this is a character who basically doesn't really feel emotions until this one person comes into her life, and then suddenly she's feeling all these emotions and doesn't know how to handle it. And that's basically what's happening with Big Nung, okay? She spent her entire life with her feelings on mute, and then suddenly Little Nung comes in, and now the feelings are on max volume, and so she doesn't fully know how to like handle this a lot of the time because she's never been in this situation before. And I think with this show, it's really obvious watching it that like this is Little Nung's first time falling in love because she's 20, right? That's when you're supposed to fall in love with the first time normally. But this is also Big Nung's first time falling in love at 36. So she really doesn't know what's going on because this has never happened to her before. So it's like they're both on the same journey at similar time periods. And so it's just fascinating to watch them both handle it because like Big Nung has never had feelings for anybody like this before. So she also has no idea what she's doing and doesn't always know how to handle it. So she just does what she always does, like from her trauma. She just tries to shut it down and be like, no, stop the feelings. The feelings are weird. There's too many feelings. We have to stop this. But Little Nung can't be stopped because she can't escape her.
That's why there's a great comparison and contrast between the two of them because although there's the age gap, their stories and situations are so similar.
Yes.
I agree. Their journeys are the same, but you get to see the differences based on like small little factors and how brains are different.
Yeah, I agree. Their relationship is so fascinating, and at the root, it's actually grounded in real things, which is awesome. I just love it. It's just so fascinating. You're right, because they are so similar. It's just they're at different time periods, but like they're still converging. It's great. I love it.
But Big Nung can't stop thinking about all of this.
No.
So Big Nose. What? Okay, I understand. What? It was Big Nung goes.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Went too fast. Did not speak correctly. Let's continue.
Sorry, Big Nung.
Big Nung goes over to Sam's house because she's having big thoughts. And she has to meet with Sam, but doesn't end up saying anything. Instead, she's just deflecting and trying to do other things. And she helps Sam cook instead because Sam is trying to bake a pie for Mon, which Mon never eats, by the way.
No. If you watch the scene, nobody eats the pie. It's so fucked up. And like, what a classic Sam move to be
they just serve it and they don't even eat it.
They don't eat it. Yeah, because she's like, I'm making this for Mon, and then Mon never gets it's classic Sam. Like, Sam, some things never change.
Well, I mean, it's probably leftovers at the end, but like, she's serving it when Mon's not even there.
We'll get there when we get there, but yes. Okay, what's really cute, though, at the beginning of the pie scene, Sam comments that, like, makes the comment specifically that Big Nung doesn't look like herself, because at this point, Sam knows her the best, right? Because she's the only, like, close family she has at this point. And so it's a good indicator coming from Sam that Nung is changing, right? And so obviously that Sam can see it. And she makes the comment multiple times that, like, my sister seems to care about a human, which is weird, right? That's weird behavior coming from Nung, who never cares about anybody ever except Sam, you know.
Yeah, and so during the scene, Sam wants to make a pie for Mon, and she says it's because it means more than just buying it, which she was doing in the beginning of Gap, where she was like, I'll try to buy everything for you. And so now she's like, it's really cute to see that she's learning to just like do things and like the actions instead of just using money.
She does that in Gap too, where she makes her breakfast and stuff. So like it's a continuation of that, where like Sam was like, "I'm gonna do stuff for you."
But Sam tells Big Nung that she will understand if she ever is in love with someone. And the pause from Big Nung is all you need to know about her feelings. She's like, there's something there.
Oh yeah, she definitely files this lesson away that like there's a major difference between purchasing and like putting effort into something. And like she's seeing her sister who's super happy in her marriage like doing that. So she's like, okay.
Which works for Big Nung considering she has no money.
Absolutely. I know. Well, I mean, think about it. Like, what was she doing to like when her and Little Nung first met? She was drawing portraits. So like again, the difference between like taking a photo of you and like putting all that effort into drawing. So she's kind of already doing it without realizing it.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Okay, so Big Nung deflects her feelings by telling Sam to not add any more sugar to the pie because it's already too sweet. Talking about the Mon and Sam's relationship.
Yes.
And then Mon enters the scene.
It's like, sugar? Me? Am I being summoned?
Like, sweet? No one can be sweet without me here.
Right.
No, that's not her personality. But
not at all.
That's
not at all.
Marissa, who plays Mon in this universe, in this series, really does nail Mon's characteristics that was played by Becky, and
yes.
Theora pointed that out to me. And I'm just surprised that they wanted the character to seem that similar because it is a different production company, and I would just assume that they wanted to differentiate it from Gap to prevent like direct comparisons, even though it's the same characters. And then another little tangent. I don't know if it was both of us or just me, but I remember when we heard there was going to be a different actress playing Nung in Blank that I at least wasn't happy having the actor replaced. I was like, no, you can't just replace this actor. But Big Nung, I'm completely happy with the choice of casting Faye. So thank you. Thank you very much. I am very grateful.
Hashtag that's my Nung. So yeah. No, Faye is Nung. Faye is Nung. There is no.
No. In every universe, no one could ever recast Nung again. No, it has to be Faye.
Or I don't want it.
Nope, I don't want it.
But I totally agree about Marissa. Marissa nails Mon. Like, she really, 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 like, encapsulates that bubbly. She even does the little sham thing. She, like, in the scene, she, like, bumps her nose. I was like, that's all the Monerisms. Like, she does all of them. It's really great. And to be fair, Ice does a good job at playing Sam, because I think that I've had this conversation with other people. Personally, I would love to see Freen and Faye act alongside each other, because I just think they would be amazing, because Freen is hilarious, and like I just think their dynamic would be really funny no matter what they're doing. So it would have been interesting to see her play Sam, but I think that Ice was a better choice because Freen has too much stage presence, and I feel like would draw away from Faye acting as Nung. And this is Nung's story, not Sam's story. So you needed a Sam that was much more of a supportive role, who was more toned down so that Nung could shine because it's her story. So honestly, the casting was great. And Mon is a bigger personality, and Marissa plays her as a bigger personality, much like Mon was in Gap when she was more of a star of the show. And I think that worked because there's less scenes with Mon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it more balances the Sam that's more, like, toned down. And I also love that they did color code them, in case you forgot, in this scene where Sam is in the black and then Mon is in the pink. So I love that. They kept the color coding with the two of them, which is very cute, which is like a Gap continuation thing, which is great.
Oh, that is cute. I didn't notice that. Of course, Theora will always notice what colors that people are wearing, and it's great. Okay, I didn't notice because, well, this isn't the only reason. She's wearing the pink apron.
Yeah, and also, like, the rest of the dress is, like, tan, but, like, up top it's black. And they but also, like, I think I made the comment later that, like, and when you see them in the bedroom scene in I think the next episode, Mon is very consistently always in pink, unless it's the funeral. Because you can't wear pink to a funeral. That would be bad. I don't care who you are.
I mean, if anyone could do it, it'd be Mon, but...
Yeah, I know. This would be fine. They're like, that's my wife. It's fine. But Sam deviates a lot from the darker colors, which makes sense because at the end of Gap, like, again, the whole point was that Mon opened up her world. And,
I'm not the only one!
Sorry. And brought color into it. And so, like, you see that in Sam's wardrobe in Blank because it's after Gap when she's had her life changed, basically. But Mon is true to form and always wearing pink. So I do love that. They kept their color coding at this stage, too, which I think is great.
Okay, so back to the
scene. My favorite moment in this whole scene. Please continue. This is hilarious. I just can't.
You can't have Mon and Sam in the same scene without them being ridiculously cute and sweet. So Nung has to eat a lime to counteract the sweetness of the two of them. And I didn't notice this at first, that this is why she did it. It was so
fucking funny. She's like, sour fruit. It's so funny. This is so funny.
And you see the pucker.
It's bitter. Yeah.
Yeah. The tartness on her face. So funny. She's like, I can't
I can't with you two.
I feel like sometimes she's just over it with the two of them. She's just
she definitely is. She definitely is. There's a scene in season 2 where they start bantering and Nung's like, back to me. I can't with you two. This is another one of those scenes. She's like, this shit's about me. I'm gonna eat the lime. This is so funny. And like, yeah, the first time I watched this, I totally missed it. And then I was like doing notes. I was like, she did that shit on purpose. It's so funny.
Because like, who would just eat a lime?
I mean, I like sour fruits, but she specifically says that's way too sweet and then eats the lime like to kill the sweetness. It's so funny.
But I need Nung to take a good long look at Mon and Sam right now. Now remember that your sister is Sam and is dating a woman or married to a woman at this point.
Correct.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you are both women, Big Nung.
No, it doesn't. But yeah, we keep forgetting that they exist, as we've mentioned last episode. But aside from all the hilarity that goes on in this particular scene, I love in general. Well, first of all, this is adorable. But second of all, I love that Sam and Nung are at this stage where they have such a good relationship with each other. And they're able, like, Nung feels comfortable enough to come to Sam when she's, like, wants to talk, even though she doesn't talk. Like, she's like, I need support. So I like that she sees Sam as that, and Sam is being the supportive sister. And I also love that, despite the lime wedge thing, which is objectively hilarious, Nung does see Mon as part of the family, like, you know, and she treats Mon that way, which is also really sweet, because, like, they just met not that long ago, and so I just love that, like, they're their own little family unit, like, the three of them, and it's really cute. I love that.
I mean, she asked her for money, and they're bonded forever now.
I mean, if that were true, she's bonded to many people.
Technically not in this world, but...
That was so funny. Still one of the funniest things.
Okay, so then Mon leaves the sisters alone to talk, hence why she doesn't get to eat the pie. First of all, I thought this pie was going to be, like, a surprise for her, but then, like, Mon walked into the kitchen as they're I'm very confused about this pie.
Sam can't keep secrets from Mon, you know this. And I thought this was weird too, and I'm like, where the fuck is Mon? But I think that, like, Sam and Mon, while Nung was eating more lime wedges, Sam and Mon went off screen, and I think that they had a conversation, and Sam basically mentioned that she's worried about her sister, because she's acting weird, and I don't know why. And I think Mon, being an empathetic person, is like, I can see you're worried about your sister, how about I just, like, disappear in the big palace we're in until you're done talking to your sister, and then I'll come eat the pie or whatever. So I think that, like, that seems like something Mon would do, versus Sam being like, leave, Mon, fuck you, we're gonna eat your pie. But still, justice for Mon. She deserves the fucking pie, man.
Oh, she should have just taken a piece and went to a corner somewhere else to read, or...
Oh my god, that would have been so sad if there's, like, one tiny sliver missing and they're like, Mon's eating her pie outside. That's okay. I'm sure Sam will make it up to her by eating other things, so I'm sure they're fine. Gosh, Nung has to leave, though. The Go watch Animal Planet. It'll be fine.
Okay, so Sam sits down and is like, all right, girl, now tell me why you are actually here.
For really, talk, bitch. Use your words.
And Nung asks Sam if people profess their love easily. To which Sam starts asking a bunch of questions about who is it? Does she know them? Who, like, someone says that they are in love with you? What is happening? What did I miss?
And I love the way Nung says this. Like, she's clearly uncomfortable when she says this to Sam. Because I think this is her big insecurity, just in general, and especially with Little Nung, who just, like, again, loudly and confidently, with all the audacity in the world, is constantly saying, I love you. And Big Nung's like, okay, because I think this is another generational thing, perhaps, because, like, you know, their age gap doesn't, it's not that it's a bad thing, good thing. Either way, like, it doesn't matter what you think about it. They're of different generations, either way. You know, Nung's a millennial, and then Little Nung is, like, Gen Z or whatever. But they're from different, you know, they grew up in different environments. And I think that Big Nung grew up more in the environment, especially if you see the Grandman, where, like, obviously affection was not something that was just given out easily. It's like, you said something like, I loved you at big moments, very sparsely, so that it meant something. So I think that that's her mentality when it comes to, like, because you'll see her react to things later, like pet names and things where she, like, is just like, wow, okay. Because, like, was never given that, right? It was like, you had to earn that, and it was more special. So, like, the fact that Little Nung is constantly saying the L word, she's like, does this word mean something different now? It's basically what she's asking Sam. She's like, does it not mean anything? Like, why do people toss this word around? This is supposed to be a sacred word. So I think this is, like, her insecurity showing when she's asking Sam this question. And it's like, I kind of get that. Like, some people, you know, some people, like, view that in relationships differently, or, like, view sex differently, where it, like, means something, versus some people are like, it's just something fun and biological we do. And that's nothing's right or wrong about either of those. It's just, like, I think that's Big Nung's mentality versus Little Nung, who's just like, I need to say this because I need you to believe me. And Big Nung's like, you say it so often, I can't believe you. And it's like this warring ideology between the two of them. So she's trying to confide in Sam. She's like, Sam, you're like me. What does this mean? Is this a youth thing? What the hell?
I love that you pointed out that Little Nung says it so often. And for, like, Big Nung, who never hears it, you're like, okay, well, if you're able to say this that much, there's no way that it's real.
Right. I think that's why she struggles with Little Nung in the beginning, because she's like, and she says it later. They get to an episode where she does say it out loud. She's like, you say it so often, I don't know if I believe you. Yeah, and it's just, they think about that word and what it means. Not what it means, but, like, she views it as sparse means it's more special, versus, like, Little Nung is like, I'm going to say it over and over again until you believe me, and it, like, has the opposite effect, ironically. And here's Nung kind of admitting it.
Yeah. So when Sam asks who it is, Nung just says it's a child who has been following her around.
Which sounds terrible.
Yes. Like, let's stop with the child. At this point I did find out their ages. But, like, that whole journey to, like, actually finding out how old she was, okay. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
It is.
And then she tells Sam that Little Nung is 20. But we haven't used gender yet.
No.
So they are 20. And Sam is like, 20? Are you trying to compete with Mon and me?
Which, like, what is their age gap? Like 7 years, something like that?
Yeah. And then
Nung's like, double it, bitch.
Yeah,
double or nothing.
Basically. Double it and pass it on to the next person. Okay. And poor Big Nung is wincing at hearing someone else say the number out loud. Because, and if Little Nung was a few years older, I don't think Big Nung would be so hesitant about this relationship. She would be hesitant in the fact that she doesn't know what love is in general. But you can tell, like, this age gap is, like, what's really putting a gap in between them. At least in her mind. Little Nung does not care whatsoever.
0 fucks.
No.
No, she said mine. That was the end of it.
Yes, that's why I think your title, "An Even Bigger Gap," is a better title for this show. Like
I agree.
I just love that title. Um,
It doesn't sound like a sequel though. It's like Gap, this Gap, and then an even bigger Gap.
yeah. Then we have like the biggest gap, gap, the ultimate gap.
Gap. Endgame, like Avengers Endgame. That's like everyone converges in that book. It'd be amazing. We'll just keep going. A different gap, and then we get like Pluto and all these other shows.
That's like the multiverse converges.
Right.
The gap converges.
The Gap multiverse.
I need someone to write that. All the like the Mons, the Sams, and the Nungs meeting each other. That would be a wild ride.
I would love that. I would love some big episode where they did like soap opera switches where like they got all the actors and then like you have one scene and then like it's Faye and then the other Nung comes on screen and there's no explanation and you're just like it's ice.
But then there's like you look different. Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Okay, so all the lines between Sam and Big Nung in general in the series are hilarious.
Oh my god, so good.
Sam tells Big Nung that she has to be careful because children these days are scary.
Oh my god, that line. Because you know Sam is legitimately probably afraid of young people. Like,
yeah.
Let's be real, that's Sam. She's like, they're scary, Nung.
I could just imagine if like a toddler came up to Sam and was like, Sam. I lost my mommy. She'd be like, who is this child?
Right.
And like just holding it out of arm's reach. Like,
right, until Mom
lost
comes by.
A child.
Mon, help.
Mon, do something.
Mon, do something. Because you don't call Jim
Mom,
in
like,
this situation.
Picks up the child. Like, don't worry. We'll help you find your mommy.
And it's Jim's child. And she's like, that's my child, Sam. Why can't you get that through your head? That's actually probably why she's scarred of children, because Jim's child is probably unruly as fuck. Like, off screen. This is what Jim's doing off screen. She's trying to expose Sam to her child, and it does not go well. So Sam is afraid of children now.
It took an hour for us to get to Jim in this episode.
We're slacking.
We are. Okay. Then Sam asks if the person who said that they loved her knows that she's royalty, because she's like, well, maybe this person's just trying to use you for your title. And then Big Nung's like, hey, Tulek, look at me. If I tell, who will believe it? And then she's like, no one knows. She's just like, look at me. I do not look like royalty. I don't live like royalty. No one even would believe me if I said it.
Listen, Big Nung, in the eyes of the beholder, okay? You look like royalty to us. I don't know what they're talking about. You're lesbian royalty.
But something we've been talking about through Gap and all the Thai media, really, because all of it is based around royalty so far that we've talked about fully. So like Blank, Gap, and Loyal Pin, is that no one knows who these people are out in real life, and like there's no paparazzi taking photos. So I wanted to look into it a little bit more and see like what laws or rules are based around this in Thailand. So I'll go through this as quick as possible. All right. So the Thai royal family is generally not subjected to paparazzi and tabloids in the same way as royal families or celebrities in other countries, due to Thailand's strict laws and cultural reverence for the monarchy. So here's some reasons why we don't get this like in other countries. So I meant to look up how to say this. I don't know how to say it. So les majest. I don't know what the little accents on the E's mean. It looks French.
It does look French.
But that law, we'll call it the LM law. Sure. So this law in Thailand makes it illegal to defame, insult, or threaten the monarchy. And so this law deters tabloids and paparazzi from publishing any content that could be considered disrespectful or intrusive to the royal family. And then there's media control and censorship. The Thai government and royal household have significant control over media content. The control ensures that the portrayal of the family remains positive and respectful. So they're not allowed to publish anything that the family doesn't want them to publish. And then also, culturally, the Thai people have a deep respect for the monarchy, and the culture discourages invasive or disrespectful behavior towards them, which makes sense because, like, how do you police it that much? Also,
Right.
anyone can provoke the LM law, like, so citizens can like basically narc on another citizen, and the government has to look into it, and you can be like in prison for like 15 years. Yeah, it's insane. So
I feel like celebrities should have these laws. People leave them the fuck alone.
yeah, like maybe we should have these laws across the board. Let
Seriously.
people share what they want to share, decency, just saying.
Just saying.
um yeah, so basically official releases are the most how people get photos and news updates about the family. Yeah. They so like if they say anything bad, they're going to go to prison, which is terrible.
Yeah, it's extreme.
And the monarchy tends to maintain a low profile in general in their private lives. And then the public appearances are formal and controlled. So it reduces opportunities for people to even capture photos of them, which is why people don't know who Big Nung is, because she probably stayed away even when she was in that world.
She definitely did. She mentions it, I think, in the next episode, where like, yeah, she stayed away from it even when she was like her whole life. She stayed very much out of the spotlight, which is really interesting when you go to Gap, and like the beginning of Gap, the series is like Sam in the public eye, you know. So like, I think Sam probably chose to do it more so than like Nung ever did.
I also like, I mean, she was the only one left by the time Gap started as well. So I feel like she knew that her sisters both didn't want to be, because we knew that Song was able to live a double life.
Yeah.
She's the best one out of
Our
everyone.
canon for Song is the show Song, not the book Song. Like, her gaying it up all over the place. That is my canon in my heart, and like living her
Oh
double
yeah,
life.
because the book, she wasn't gay in the book, right?
Not that I'm aware
Yeah.
of.
Um. So yes, Theora and I like to have our own. We need to make sure that the audience knows that sometimes, because
Yes,
like
we're aware.
we like
But
pick and choose between the book and the.
yes, agreed. It's mostly what's on screen. Mostly.
It's mostly the screen, because I don't always read the books unless Theora tells me to.
Yeah. Also, that's what we're talking about.
Oh shit! What was I saying? The
Women,
Song.
women.
Like, Song was able to live a double life. So Sam probably, like, they don't want to do it, so it's on me to do it. Like, someone has to take the public role. I may as well. But she doesn't want to be public either. Like, I
No.
feel like I mean, not with the way that she posts on Facebook. I'm
Oh
just
my
saying.
god. Well, like all of the stuff Sam put out there was bullshit anyway. It was like T and Cade
Oh
writing it. So like
yeah.
she wasn't that into it. I think that yeah, the grandmother was forcing her. Also, like she probably needed it for her business. She's a terrible businesswoman, and they're like, "Can you just get out there so people invest in you? I'm tired of bailing you out money wise." What you said about Song is really interesting though, because like if this was America, because remember in Gap where Song goes to a public place with her girlfriend and brings Sam. If this was America, people would have that would have been all over the internet. If like Song was out with
Yeah.
her girlfriend in public, and she would have got publicly outed, but like nobody outs her, which is kind of amazing actually. So good for her. That could
Yeah,
have
I
been
mean,
bad.
these laws are pretty harsh. And technically bad in the fact that if it's true, like the defamation is true, they should be able to write about it, but
Yeah,
privacy, man. We need to work on that.
for
We
real.
have no privacy. Also, these actors need privacy.
They need these laws to protect them. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it doesn't pertain to them, unfortunately. But these laws do pertain to the world. So like if we were to like defame the monarchy
Oh
that's
shit.
currently going on, we could get imprisoned. I'm pretty sure. I didn't read too much into it. This was quick research. But yeah, it's pretty intense. But there was so there is something that was going on in the media this year. I'll tell you off screen because I'm not risking imprisonment.
All right. Let's go back to the scene, Kaitlynn, so we don't get in trouble.
All right, so Sam assumes that it's a guy who professed his love for Nung. And she's like, "Are boys even serious? Like, they're just young. Like, it's probably just for shits and giggles." And Nung puts her head down, and her voice gets to like a whispery place, and she says, "Not a guy." And Sam's reaction is like, "Bitch, you too?"
This is the best. This is the best.
I love this conversation on another level as well because Nung seems nervous to tell Sam that it's not a guy who said he loved her, even though she knows that Sam is in a relationship with a woman. Like again, she had to eat a lime because they're so cute, and it just shows that no matter how well you know someone will react, it's still terrifying to tell them. And I hope one day it's not like that. And I think it's getting better for some people. We're going backwards, but that's a whole nother conversation
Yeah.
as well. Um,
I also love that when Sam's like, "What?" Nung gets defensive and she's like, "What? It's fine." like her first reaction is to be demure about it, and their next reaction is just anger, which is very dumb. She's like, "Whatever, Sam." But from Sam's point of view, I think that Sam is genuinely excited to find this out about her sister. Like, oh my god, my sister's also queer. And like, now she's in a position where she gets to support Nung in something that she has experience in. And so it's like they can bond over this. And it's really sweet on that level also. And I think Sam kind of recognizes this and she's like, "Oh, I've been through this. I can actually help you with this. Like I get to be the big sister in this role." Like I think it's very cute.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sam's very much likes to take care of everybody, even
She
though she's the
does.
little one.
Yeah,
Um,
she does.
but the thing is, Nung never said that she liked little Nung back. But like Sam has eyes and could see how nervous Big Nung was about everything, and she also knows her sister. Like she would not have brought this up if it wasn't a big deal in her brain because that's not Big Nung. Big Nung's not one to open up. Like something has to be really going on if she's going to go to someone and ask.
Yeah, and I think Sam also knows Nung well enough to recognize everything you just said, but also put together that Nung is a little bit in denial about this. So I like the rest of the conversation where like Sam backs off though and kind of stops pushing. She's like, "Ooh, okay, been there, girl. You don't recognize the feelings yet. I can see the feelings." Is what Jim and T were always talking about. I can see them, but I don't think you can see them yet. So she's like, I like when she after this she like backs off a little bit. She's like, "All right, I'm not gonna keep pushing you on this because I don't think you're not there yet. You're not there yet. I'll be here when you're there, but you're not there yet. Been there, been there. You're not there yet."
Sam is really good at knowing when to back off. She's like, I will push you to a point, and then I know you have to do the rest. But she knows like the perfect point to push her to. And she's like, I'm just going to leave you with this little bit of info. Like this thing to think about.
Look in the mirror.
Whatever you want to do it. But
Look in the
just
mirror.
think about it. So Nung tries to leave, and Sam
Classic.
stops her and is like, just think about this. Why are you so worried if you don't like her? And
Yeah.
like she knows that you can't tell. No one can tell Big Nung what to do. Maybe Little Nung now, but
Absolutely. She absolutely can.
and like she knows she can't process it for her, like you were saying. But she's like, if and whenever you want to talk about it, I will be here. And it's very,
So
I love
sweet.
seeing the sisters closer together in this show.
So sweet. And that's like, for somebody like Nung, who, again, is emotionally immature, and therefore it takes her longer to like understand what her feelings mean. I love that Sam says this. This is the perfect thing to say, where she's like, okay, just, I'm here when you want to talk about it. I'm not going to force you to talk about it. Like, perfect. 10 out of 10, perfect response. Best sister ever award goes to Sam.
Sam is great. Yeah. I mean, they're all great. I gotta say, I really like this show, Theora.
I love this show so much. But what I don't love is that Mom never got her pie, Sam. Nobody ate the pie, Sam.
No one ate the pie. Let's zoom in on that.
No, nobody ate it. She serves a piece to Nung, and then Nung doesn't even get to eat it. They just get into the conversation. Nung runs away. There was no.
They couldn't afford the spit bucket on set, so they were like, "We don't actually
probably wasn't
want to
made
eat
out of real food."
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so let's
poison. That's my mom.
Don't eat it. It's plastic.
It's plastic. Anyway.
It's probably like glue on the top to like make it shiny.
Shiny, yeah.
Anyway, heading over to Little Nueng, she is spending her time daydreaming about being over at Big Nung's apartment and getting closer to her. Because, girls got it bad.
And she's just sitting there hugging a pillow and thinking about how she got a hug today. That's a big deal. She got a hug and a head pat.
It's a big deal when you don't get any hugs in your life. No! And you're like a person who loves hugs. Like, she's definitely, she's definitely giving a lot of unconsented hugs to Big Nung. So
a lot.
Yeah, she needs that like physical affection, and she's definitely not getting it from her grandmother.
Yeah, no, physical touch is her love language, absolutely.
Meanwhile, Big Nung is also in her bed thinking about the prior day's events. And what I noticed rewatching it was when she's thinking about Little Nung's love confession, she puts her hand over her heart. She's getting there. She's getting there.
It's a pitter patter. So I like that she took Sam's advice and Sam's like, think about it. And so she is. She went and is consciously trying to process, like, why am I having these feelings? What the fuck do they mean? And she gets a little pitter patter when she thinks about it. And I thought so she's coming to the conclusion here that, oh, my sister was right. And I think the memories that she reflects on are really interesting. So the ones that go through her mind before she gets to the pitter patter is Little Nun calling her limited edition, because again, the ego. And then the part where she's like, you haven't been in love before because you're waiting for me. Okay. And then we go back to the bridge scene in the first episode where Little Nung is saying, I love you and I'll be worthy of you one day, I promise. And she's thinking about how she felt in those moments when Little Nung was saying those things. Because I think those are the trigger moments where she was having big feelings and didn't, like, that she's never experienced before and didn't know what to do with them in that moment. But now she's like, it's just the equivalent of opening your diary and going, wow, I'm really gay. That's what she's doing. She's like thinking about these feelings. She's like, oh, I like her. Oh, shit. And because, like, I think these were such big moments for her because I don't think anyone has ever told her any of these things in sincerity before, like, ever. And, like, for Little Nung to just, again, say these things so openly, honestly, and with all the confidence in the world, I think she's starting to realize, oh, shit, like, I'm responding to this. Oh, no. Sam was right. It's cute.
Yeah. It's a process. And even, like, thinking back on things, like, once you come out, it's just, like, a really weird moment to think, like, well, shit. That's what that was.
Right. That's what that was. That is what she's doing. And then she's like, I can feel my heart racing. That's what that was. Because she's never been in this position before, you know? It's all of it's new. Not just that, like, Little Nung's a woman and is younger than her. It's just, the love part is also just brand new. And she's like, oh, fuck. I'm capable of having feelings. Oh, dear. Now what?
I keep stalling. I want to stay on this scene because the next one.
I know. The worst
is
characters in
Chet
it.
sitting for a portrait with Big Nung.
He better paid her like 10 times the amount. Like, this better be 1,000 baht drawing to pay her rent.
You know what? I wouldn't put it past Big Nung to just tell him that's the price in general.
10 grand. And he's like, okay. Just like, dumb bitch. Like, he just paid her whole rent. She would. No shame. She would do it, no shame. And I love that about her.
Yeah. This is the scene where she's like, aren't you angry with me? Why aren't you angry? Like, why don't you... And I feel like part of it's like, why don't you care enough to be angry as well?
I think so. And then also Nung was like, I would be pissed. Because I think the other thing is like, okay, so I mentioned that like Nung never really had feelings really before. I think that's not entirely true. Like the only feeling she's had for a very long time is her anger towards her grandmother, right? In that whole situation. And so she didn't have like feelings outside of that. I think because she's been so consumed by anger for such a long period of time, that is an emotion she's well versed in. And she's like, you should be angry with me the way that my grandmother is angry with me. Why aren't you angry with me? Like, that seems weird, you know? But I agree with you, Kaitlynn. She's like, you probably don't care. Because her anger is coming from the fact that she loves her grandmother. She's frustrated with her, by the way, all the bullshit that they go through. But she's like, why are... this? But also, like, no, you don't give a fuck about him either. He also doesn't give a fuck about you. Like, I thought it was a mutual not giving a fuck that went on between the two of you, you know? Why are you surprised?
I really don't like him. And his face is on my screen right now, and I don't want to look at it. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit.
So you don't have to see him.
Okay. So, before the conversation can go too far, Little Nueng shows up. Very mopey. Because, you know, it's Little Nueng, and there's a guy around. And she says, very, like... childlike to him, I told you not to come. Why would you come? And like the audacity she has. This is the theme of this show. The audacity of Little Nueng. To her to think that he would listen to her. Like, he's thinking of you as a child. And you think he's gonna listen to you?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The title of this episode: The Lion, the Witch, and the Audacity of this Bitch.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Audacity of this bitch.
That's Little Nueng.
That's amazing. Theora's great at titles, if you can't tell.
I don't think I can put that on a thumbnail, but it's between us and the listeners. That's the title.
Okay. Well, maybe if you put like a star in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have to look at the monetization thing, see if we're allowed to, because we can't have the F word, I believe. But
no.
Anyway. So for some reason, Chet brings up that Little Nueng is wearing the same uniform as Big Nung's old school. And this makes the little stalker so happy because she didn't know that Big Nung used to go to her school. And she like completely forgets that Chet's there and is like, you went to the same school as me?
Yeah, I love how she like gets on her knees and gets real close and it's like, ooh, we have something in common now. Again, look at all these things we have in common. And to me, I never thought much of this, and then I was like thinking about it. I was like, there's no way in hell Nung didn't notice that school uniform. Like, there's no way she didn't see that badge and was like, because she went there and all her sisters. Like, there's no way. Like, every school has the distinct kind of badge to separate them. So there's no way. But I think that again, Big Nung's MO is lying by omission. And I don't think she ever said anything because, again, like, obviously Little Nueng would run with that and like break into the school headquarters and steal the records and like figure out who she was in like 10 minutes. Like, she doesn't need the internet. Like, she would literally break into the school, figure it out. And I think that Big Nung is really trying to preserve not only that to keep the stalker at bay, but I think she was also trying to preserve like her royal title, because if Little Nueng did any modicum of digging, she'd figure that shit out. And I think that Big Nung likes the fact that, again, here's a person who's interested in her without all of that shit, and that's really what I think she really likes about her like relationship with Little Nueng at this stage. It's free of all that bullshit, you know? Unlike Chet, he's snooping around now because of her title, not because he actually gives a shit about her, you know?
I feel like Little Nung's the type of stalker to just, like, want to see her. I think she wants to learn about Big Nung from her.
True.
I think even if there was stuff on the internet, maybe she'd do, like, light, but she wouldn't be, like, digging into it. She more want to have a conversation with Big Nung.
She's not Mon.
About... No, she didn't Mon. She might have a board of photos that she took of her from afar.
Oh my god, her grandmother would literally kill her if she saw that. Whereas, like, Mon's parents were just like, okay, Mon, this is weird, but sure, it makes you happy, I guess. You have
whatever makes you happy, sweetheart. Yeah. Go walk the dog.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, then we get to where Little Nung is basically rude to Chet.
Oh, no, wait, no, we're here.
No, yeah, I wasn't sure. Oh, okay, thank you.
We have to keep getting weird with this scene.
I'm trying to bypass Chet as quick as possible,
I'm
apparently. Aware. Okay, so then the weirdest part of this whole thing. Chet is like, your face looks familiar. Who are your parents? And like, okay, so rewatching the show once you get to episode 4 makes a lot of scenes funnier.
Absolutely.
But what? Also, I would never like look at someone's face, be like, "Hey, I might know your parents. Who are they?" Like the world is huge, dude.
That's literally what she tells him, which is so funny. But he's so weird. Who says this to anybody? Like, your face looks familiar. Who the fuck are you? Like, that's basically what he's saying. And what I love about this scene, he's creepy and weird. And obviously we're setting up episode 4. That's why he says this, but it's weird and creepy. But what I do love about it is that, again, if you go back to the prior scene in Nung's apartment, Big Nung knows that this topic, who her parents are, makes Little Nung really uncomfortable. So she shuts this shit down with Chet, because Chet ignores everything Little Nung says. Like, he ignores her like she's not even there. And until he's like, answer me, child. Like, the adult, I'm asking you a question. And so Big Nung is like, well, I'm the adult that outranks you. And she's uncomfortable right now. So what she does in this scene is she uses her influence, her status, and her social power to stop his questioning. And I love this about Nung because she uses all of her cards in her deck, basically, and her power to benefit Little Nung. And this is just one example of her doing that. She does it multiple times. And particularly in situations where, like, quote, the adults are talking, where Little Nung is expected to be seen, not heard, and she can't talk unless somebody addresses her. So, like, Big Nung, the proper adult in the conversation, like right now with Chet, will speak on Little Nung's behalf to benefit her. Like, and that's consistent throughout their relationship. Like, Big Nung never uses her power or her status as the adult to, like, influence Little Nung or, like, wield it against her, like Sam did in Gap in the beginning. Mm-hmm. No, Big Nung never does that. In fact, she avoids using her power at all costs because she's trying to run away from it. And the only time she dips into it is when Little Nung's in trouble and she's trying to help her. And to me, that the fact that she only accesses her power to benefit Little Nung really speaks to how much Big Nung cares about her, because she doesn't want any of that power. But here she is, like, basically using her social power in this conversation to be like, shut the fuck up, Jet. And he does. And he moves on to, like, yeah, which is great.
She's basically using her power to make people treat her like a human.
Yeah.
And like a person. Like, she's not this baby that everyone is treating her like. It's really, that's the most annoying part about this show in general.
I agree.
And it's not the show. It's, like, meant to. It's meant to annoy you.
Yeah.
So it's not like a negative against the show. It's just people. Oh my God.
This is the social interactions. And, like, you can see how problematic this, like, hierarchy can really be, where it's like you're robbing Little Nung of being a person in all of these conversations and just ignoring her. And then you're like, you wonder why she acts out and shit. It's like everybody fucking ignores her. It's very frustrating. You're right. It's on purpose. You're correct. So then you shouldn't be surprised by the way Little Nung treats Chet. In fact, it's very justified.
Yeah. Yeah, so she is, I guess, rude to him. I think she's fully correct in what she's saying. But it makes Big Nung tell her to speak to adults with twang. And I don't really know what that means.
It means formal speak. So you notice when they speak, she'll say like "ka" at the end. It's like it's respectful language towards an elder or somebody in power. And if you notice, Little Nung never does it with, like, rarely does it with Big Nung. And she's not doing it in this conversation because she does not respect Chet, genuinely. But Big Nung's like, he's an adult. You're supposed to speak to him like he's an adult. So what does she do?
Yeah.
My favorite thing she does in this series, which is this is the birth of, like, Little Nung, petty as fuck Little Nung. Like, she does petty as fuck behavior, and it's so funny. So she starts engaging in malicious compliance, which, if you don't know what that means, it means when there's a rule, and, like, to point out the absurdity of the rule, you, like, comply with it, and in such a manner that shows it's absurd, right? So there's an example of this in real life was in America with the abortion bans or whatever, or they're trying to, like, prove that fetuses are people. So this one woman got pulled over in the carpool lane, and the police officer's trying to give her a ticket. She's like, no, I'm pregnant. Therefore, there are two people in this car, so I can drive in this lane. It's like challenging the rule that fetuses are people. So that's a form of malicious compliance. And the police officer's like, well, no, there's one person. She's like, well, which is it? Is the fetus a person or are they not? So that's a form of malicious compliance. And that's what she does with the formal speak. And it's so fucking funny. And I think she's doing it, A, to show she does not respect Chet. And it goes over Chet's head. He doesn't give a fuck. But she's doing it really to get under Big Nung's skin. And it's, if you watch them in the scene, it's hilarious. Big Nung's like, son of a bitch. Like, when she starts doing this. Because what Big Nung is expecting her to do is she's like, hey, treat him with respect. So she's expecting Little Nung to, like, rephrase what she just said. But she doesn't. She says the exact same thing, but then just adds the ka at the end to be like, I'm being formal. And she basically tells
and pauses before the ka.
Right. To show that she does not respect this man. She's like, no, bitch, I'm not going to tell you. Ka.
I'm doing this because I have to.
It's so funny. It's so funny. And Big Nung looks, like, sighs and looks at it. It's so funny. Gosh. She's such a petty bitch. I love how petty she is.
Just let her be herself.
She's so funny. Her pettiness is hilarious.
And, like, again, Chet just proves that, you know, he doesn't deserve to be respected because every time he talks about, or to Little Nung, it's always something weird. And this time he tells Big Nung, doesn't, like, include Little Nung in the conversation whatsoever.
Nope.
He's like, let's take this little girl out to eat. First of all, she's not a little girl.
I know, she's an adult. That's ridiculous.
I mean, they okay. We just need to get out of high school. Anyway, Little Nung, Little Nung's like, no, I don't want to.
Danger, stranger danger.
Say it out loud. Yeah. But Big Nung's only question was, do I get to choose the place?
Right. She's like, how much money are we going to spend at this place? Because,
yeah.
Don't worry.
Where food leads, Big Nung will follow.
Oh my God. No, for real. She's just like, food that neither of us have to pay for? Come on, Little Nung. Let's do this shit.
It's like, I'm going to teach you that you just do stuff for food and then dip.
Yeah, literally. This is how you use your power as a woman. Okay, let's go do this. All right. So yeah, speaking of that. So anyway, so Chet does take them out for food, and he then has to leave immediately for reasons we don't care about. But before he leaves, Nung reminds him to pay the bill, which is so savage. Like, he doesn't even get to stay to eat. She's like, you paid the bill though, right? That's the only reason I agreed to come here. Oh my God. It's so fucking funny.
I love that part.
I love it. It's savage. It's great. And that's how much he doesn't care about him. Which I love.
But I mean, it's kind of wrong to invite someone to have a meal and then leave and, like, not pay for it when you said you're going to anyway. So
True.
I get it.
True. She's also broke. She's like, I can't afford this shit. Just pay for this. The food's already there, so they can't back out. Anyway, it's just savage and funny. All right, so once the Nungs are alone, Little Nung starts putting together Big Nung's past with Chet. Like, kind of. So she realizes that, okay, if you guys were almost married, that means that like you were probably dating. And Big Nung's like, ew, no, never. You've seen him, right? Absolutely
Oh,
not.
a man? No.
Yeah, Little Nueng's like, I get that. I've met him. But if that's the case, what do you mean why were you getting married to him then? And the answer is the grand man. I mean, crazy reasons, Little Nung. Because, like, not everybody gets married for love, unfortunately. And she's like, don't worry about it. Sorry.
No, I thought no one got married for. I thought it was like everyone gets married off.
So here's the deal. Like, usually, like, traditionally speaking, marriages were business contracts, right? It was a way to consolidate wealth, because wealth in patriarchy goes through the male lineage. That was not always the case. But when we switched to patriarchy, that's the consequence, right? So in order for like women to live, they had to like get married to a man. So like a wealthy man who had a daughter, the only way to consolidate his power was to marry her to a wealthy man, to keep his family and his legacy going, right? And to consolidate all the properties. So really marrying for status was for people who had status. For people who don't have status, there's no property. So they would marry for love or because somebody was pregnant and things like that. So this is a upper class. This is a champagne problem, right? This whole not marrying for love thing, which is why like the grandmother has conversations where love is brought up and she's like, don't lower yourself, because that was something for the lower class, not the upper class. In the upper class, you're expected to like stay in your lane, marry somebody who's equal to you, consolidate more money, consolidate more power. That's the expectation. But if you're poor and you don't own property, it doesn't matter. Like, consolidate what? There's nothing. You just do what you want. So that's why. So like, and that's the point. And Little Nung is putting together like, this is what rich people do. And then she's like, he looks very wealthy. He has a fancy car. Look at how he dresses. And then she's putting it together and she's like, who are you then? If you almost married this clearly elite man, right?
Yeah, I mean that's it is weird.
It is weird. It's kind of telling. And Big Nung tries to shut this down, and she's like, well, maybe I'm, worth something. And Little Nung's like, absolutely. I see that, obviously. She doesn't know who she is. And she's like, I know you're worth something. You're a limited edition. You're all that stuff. And she's like, more importantly, Big Nung, obviously this man wasn't worthy of you. And like, Big Nung's like, absolutely, that's correct. You know me well. And I feel like that means a lot to Little Nung because, again, less competition. Then she doesn't have to feel threatened by Chet. And she's so damn smug about it when she says that. It's hilarious. She's like, yep, he's not worthy, but I am. Like, basically, is the implication there, which is... Okay, kind of says a little blah, blah, blah. I already said all this stuff. The other thing is, too, like, Big Nung has many opportunities to kind of come clean about who she is, and she chooses not to because, again, she values the freedom she has now, and I think... Unlike with Chet, I think that's why she's like doesn't love being around Chet, because he's kind of like a reminder of her past, the things she's trying to escape from, and all the bullshit that comes with that. But with Little Nung, she's like gets to be free of all that shit and be with somebody again who like definitely likes her just for who she is. So anyway, in this conversation, again, when they're talking about Chet, Big Nung is like, when you're speaking about him, like, be respectful. He's an adult, and he's like an elite adult. Basically, like, use the formal twang thing. And again, Little Nung's like, okay, and does the malicious compliance stuff. And I love every time she says his name, she drags it out as a way to show that she does not respect this man. And she's always like, Archet. And she's such a petty bitch. Like, when she pauses to say his name, she's such an asshole, and I love when she does this. It makes me laugh so hard every time she does this, because she's just like, I don't like this man. I'm letting you know.
My dad was around while I was rewatching this from my notes, and he was like mimicking it, because like that's
it's so
when you're not reading, that's all you capture like in this conversation. And then so I pause and I'm like, oh, there's a reason why she's doing this. And then I ended up like getting into the whole dynamic of like episode 4 with him, and he was just like, okay, and then went back to work.
You're never ready for episode 4. I'm just saying.
It's too much for people if you don't watch it as it's going.
All right. And then, like, again, the real root of this conversation is that, like, Little Nueng is onto something and figuring out who Big Nung is. Because really, they're getting into points where they're having, like, real conversations with each other. Like, real things. Where they're actually revealing things about themselves. And, like, she was on the cusp of something in this conversation before, like, Big Nung shut it down. So she's, like, she's even more determined now to, like, figure out Nung. She's like, well, who are you, really? Because maybe you're even more extraordinary than I thought you were. Which is cute and sweet and also true. Yeah. So after they end up eating the food because free food, and then they go back to the blank bus stop, and by this point it's raining cats and dogs, so they kind of take cover there for a hot minute. And of note, there's like this scene, like a wide shot where they're like running to the bus stop, and if you watch really closely, like Big Nung has her hands over Little Nung to try and shield her from the rain, which is really cute. But ineffective because it's raining so fucking hard. It doesn't work. But the gesture was there, which was really cute. And I don't think Little Nung knew she was doing that. For some reason, Little Nung's like, I don't want to get on the bus. Can't I just go to your house? You live closer to this bus stop. And Big Nung's like, why do you have to come to my house? Just go home. Like, it's dark, it's raining, the night's over. Go home. And Little Nung has no argument to this, so she just pretends to faint. Which, she was putting a lot of trust in the fact that Big Nung was going to catch her and that she wasn't going to fall onto the sidewalk. And she was right. Big Nung catches her. So Big Nung's like, fuck, all right, I got to get you home somehow. So we get this piggyback ride scene, which is really funny and cute. And I love the bickering where Big Nung's like, what the fuck did you eat? Why are you so heavy?
Oh yeah, I was like, what the hell is that comment?
Just because she's grumpy and she's tired of carrying her. She's like, why are you so heavy? That's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, it was just really funny. But, like, Little Nung can't say anything because she's pretending to be, like, passed out. Which, how did she get on her back if she's fainted is a whole nother question. But movie magic.
I'm, like, picturing, like, a sack of potatoes of her just trying to get her up.
Right, like you would have to carry her bridal style. If
Little
Nung
really just like
passed out.
Yeah,
she's like she was conscious enough to hold on, but not conscious enough to walk on her own 2 feet. The audacity of this bitch.
Which continues when they get back to the apartment. She lays her down. It's like, I know you're not actually that
right.
Bad. And then she walks away, and then she's like, Little Nung looks up. And then when Big Nung's coming back into the room, immediately goes limp again. Oh
my god, she's such a bitch. It's so funny. She commits.
She's a cute bitch.
She's a cute bitch. And when she finally like comes to, she's like, oh, I'm afraid that you'll be mad at me for doing this. And Big Nung's like, she's like, you know what? At this point, I'm just worried you're going to get sick. So like, we'll revisit this. Like, go shower and change out of your wet clothes so you don't get sick, because we're here now, we did it, so just go do that. And I love that, like, when Little Nung goes into her room, because that's where the bathroom is, Nung makes Little Nung tea, which again, a love language. She like unconsciously is doing these things, which is really sweet. And they basically will transition to a real conversation when she comes out. But when Little Nung goes into her room, that's when she sees a photo of Sam. So that's important. She sees, like, the photo on her bed, on Nung's bedside table is her and Sam. And it's, like, her arm around Sam. So if you don't know who Sam is, it kind of looks like it's Nung and her girlfriend. So, like, you see where Little Nung's brain is going with this. So we had to establish that because she's about to meet Sam. But anyway, she gets out. She's changed. She's all dry and shit. And then they have this real conversation where Big Nung is like, why do you speak to me so informally? You know, why do you do this? And first of all, I think the beginning of this was that Little Nung had no idea how old you were. She thought you were 26, which, like, she wouldn't need to speak to you formally if she thought you were 26 years old. So, like, there's that. And, you know, habits are hard to break.
What is the age gap that you have to speak formally to someone?
I feel like it... That's a good question. I actually don't know. If you know, put it... Because, like, Mon does it to Sam. But is it because of their age gap, or is it because Sam's royalty? That I don't know. Because if you listen to Mon talk, yeah, but even in the show, if you listen when they're alone, if you listen to Mon talk to Sam, it's very formal the way she speaks to Sam. She does like the ka and things like that when they're alone talking. So I don't know. If you know the rules of this, please put it below. Anyway, so maybe there's that. That could be it. But I think more importantly, the real reason Little Nung doesn't do that is because Big Nung doesn't treat her like a child. And I think that she feels genuinely comfortable around Big Nung. And that's why she doesn't, like, engage in that. Because almost like, by using that language, you're, like, distancing yourself from each other. And I think that because Little Nung feels that they're close, she just eliminates it. Because that's how she feels. And her language and the way she chooses to speak to Big Nung is reflective of that. The bigger point of this is, Big Nung, you've never corrected her until right now. Like, you've known each other for a hot minute, and you've never once, this never bothered you until now. And I was like, why are you bringing this up now when she's never used formal language with you? And I think the reason she's bringing it up now is because they're both aware of their actual ages, and Big Nung is now aware, because remember, she was reflecting the other night. She's aware that there's mutual feelings here now. And the fact that this relationship has so many social consequences tied to it and could cause so much chaos with, like, Little Nung and her family. So I think that Big Nung is trying to enforce this now as a way to keep her distance from Little Nung. Like, and hopefully to get Little Nung to realize that, like, this situation is impossible. Like, the gap is too great for the two of them.
The greater gap.
The greatest gap.
Big Nung, it's not going to work.
No, it 100% does not work. And instead, Little Nung just engages in malicious compliance again, and then just constantly uses this formal twang just to tease her. And she does it in this moment where she'll say something like, ka. Like, just to piss her off. She's like, this is what you wanted, right? Like, do you see how absurd this is? And Big Nung's like, for fuck's sake, like, I get, like, she has no energy to fight her ever, and she's like, whatever, I guess if this is what you're gonna do. And then she's, like, looking at Little Nung, and, like, not really saying anything, and Little Nung's like, why are you looking at me like that? Is it because I'm so pretty and you're in love with me and stuff? Like, I get it. And Big Nung's like, I'm just wondering why, again, and Little Nung is not expecting this answer. Big Nung's like, I'm just wondering why you wear such thick glasses. Like, I never really put that together. Like, why do you wear them? And it's like, girl, why does anybody wear glasses? This is a stupid question, but okay. I get it. She's asking a personal question. We'll take the win. And Little Nung explains it's because she was born prematurely and her mother didn't want her. And it's like, does nobody in the Gap universe understand how pregnancy works? Looking at you, Jim. Like, does nobody understand this? Like, that's not why you have poor eyesight. That's not how that works.
At this point, does the writer of the book know how it works?
Right. I think they're just like, I need to justify her wearing glasses that I can then whip off later to show that she's hot, and that's what we're doing. And I'm like, okay. This was ridiculous, but sure. And no one understands pregnancy as a consequence of this, these plot points we have to have. But anyway. All right. I've already talked about how she's a child trapped in an adult's body, but whatever. Let's move on to the most important part of this conversation. When Little Nung explains this, the reason why she has to wear big glasses, Big Nung's reaction is really important here because it's this, like, mixture of, like, concern, fascination, and self-reflection a little bit. Because she asks her, like, why? She's like, you've had such a traumatic as fuck childhood, like me, and yet you're still optimistic and smiling. Like, why is that? And Little Nung's response is so perfect. She's basically like, well, all that happened in the past. Why do I need to feel bad about it now? Like, it already happened. And here I am. I'm strong and living my life.
That's such a healthy mindset.
Yeah, a very healthy mindset. And I think that this was important for Big Nung to hear because at this point, like we've mentioned over and over again, she hasn't fully processed her childhood trauma and like all that collateral damage, like Song, the Gray Man, all that stuff. She gets there later, but not at this point. So when she's asking Little Nung about this, like, why are you still so cheery and optimistic? I think she's genuinely curious how Little Nung did not become a closed off and cynical person like she did. That's what she's really asking. She's like, why aren't you like me? Like somebody who's closed off, untrusting. You're like the complete opposite. Like, why? And that's such an important question. And then she like sits there and kind of like is thinking this over, like everything that Little Nung just said. And that's when she starts kind of like shivering a little bit. And Little Nung's like, and she grabs her and like tries to push her towards Big Nung's bedroom. And Big Nung's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? And she says, well, you are still in the wet clothes. You haven't changed you haven't changed yet. I'm worried you're going to get sick. So like, go do what I just did. Go take a shower and change. And Big Nung kind of freezes, and she's like, oh, that's what you're doing? Okay, because I think this is maybe the first time in a very long time that somebody who wasn't Sam took care of her without an ulterior motive. Like, Little Nung's just like, please, I'm worried about you. Please just go. And Big Nung tries to push it off, and just, I know I need to do that, whatever. And, like, goes in the room. But, like, this conversation between them is really, really great. Like, everything about it is fantastic. But then we transition into the why are we here scene, okay? There's good moments in here, but oh man, both of us have an issue with this scene. Okay, now that everybody's changed and their hair is dry, we wait out the rain in Big Nung's artist room. And Big Nung's like, I'm gonna sketch you while the rain keeps going. And once it's done, I'll take you home, kind of thing. She's like, but you gotta sit there and shut the fuck up and be quiet and be still and stop causing trouble and stop making me have feelings. Just sit there and be still and I'll just draw you.
I love that umbrellas don't exist for some reason. And like when rain happens, you can't go anywhere. Like that's what I'm getting from these shows.
I think it's like, so they mentioned it a couple of times. It's like tropical rain. So if you've never lived in a climate with tropical rain's horrible. And it's just like torrentially downpouring, and it seems like it's for hours here. And the bigger problem is there's traffic jams, and so like because there's car accidents, and so like that's the bigger thing. I've been
in a downpour in Thailand. Like it's insane.
Yeah. So, and I lived in Florida for a very long time, and it's like it's a very dangerous time to be driving. So the other reason is like, let's wait out the rain so I don't have to get a car or a bus and risk getting into an accident. That's the other reason she's keeping her hair. It's more of a safety thing than just like a umbrellas are not going to stop that kind of rain. It's just, you just accept it. Honestly, you accept it. But seriously though, Little Nung should have had a umbrella in her backpack because it is rainy season. But that's, then we don't get this scene. So, good job, Little Nung. Doesn't matter. For the power of lesbian Jesus told her not to carry one. Okay, wait. So we get to the why are we here moment. Before they begin, Little Nung sneezes and her glasses falls off. And then Big Nung's like, all right, I'll get it. So she gets down on her knees, picks up the glasses, and then looks up at Little Nung. And then we get this she's hot without her glasses moment, which I hate on principle.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It's not great.
It's not great. It's not great. I think the read of this scene is that Big Nung is seeing Little Nung as an adult. But I hate it. I just hate it. I hate it.
The glasses really should not change anything. This is the classic superhero thing right now.
Right. And like adults can wear glasses and it's also fine. It's not a childish thing. It also doesn't detract from hotness. Like, anyway, also like we find out at the end that like Big Nung, the other thing that's happening in this scene is that like Big Nung's really into Little Nung's eyes, and this is a heart-stopping moment for her too. That's the other reason. But anyway, she could have worn her glasses and we could have still had this moment. That's the problem I have with it.
Maybe it's just that it was a change from the way that she originally met her and saw her.
Right.
I mean, it still doesn't fully make sense, but
no,
yeah.
I hate it.
But
yeah, I agree. I think that's what it's supposed to be, but like, I hate it. Anyway. Whatever. Either way, Big Nung's enchanted by her beauty, and now that her glasses are off, and does this thing where she like runs her fingers through Little Nung's hair without saying anything, and Little Nung's like, oh, oh, this is way better than a head pat. Like, this is way better. And Little Nug gets to ride this high for approximately 3 seconds before her grandmother calls. Because we can't have nice things.
This is why we can't have nice things, darling. Okay.
And that continues until
because you break them. Yes. Speaking of breaking things, the grandmother is waiting for little Nung when she gets home, and this poor girl. I don't want her to go home. I want her to stay with Big Nung at this point.
I want her to U-Haul also. I understand why she's always like, "Can I move in with you?" Because it's like this is where she's living. It's terrible.
Yeah. So little Nung tells the grandmother that she was waiting for the rain to stop at this tutoring school. And at this point, I totally forgot that she's supposed to be at the tutoring school every day after school.
She's such a liar, and I love it.
But the grandmother starts immediately hitting her with I'm calling it a stick, and tells her to take a taxi home next time. Which I'm like, does she have money to pay the taxi right now? Do they pay it at home? I'm wondering if maybe she was worried about would have been worried about getting scolded for using a taxi when she could have used the bus. Like, there's so many things. Like, you don't know what she actually wants until you do something wrong, I guess.
Right. And it's
like, what? Go ahead.
I was going to say, also, like, if there's traffic jams, how would that got her home any faster? Like, she's just been sitting in a taxi with a fucking stranger. Like, how's that better?
But also, what good is hitting her in this situation? Like, I just don't understand the concept of hitting someone.
It's just, this is the grandmother taking out all of her issues onto little Nung. And it's also like, this is why she lies to you. Like, she's fucking terrified of you. And so she lies constantly because she gets abused. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. That poor girl is always on edge at home, and it's nice safe. And that's why the childlike state comes out when she's gone too, because she can relax. Like, she doesn't have the weight of the expectations, threat? I guess. Yeah, the threat of violence.
Yes.
When she's not there.
Right.
And then when little Nung goes away, the grandmother looks upset that she hit her. And I'm just like, bitch, you're just, oh my god, I don't like her. I do not like, I might like despise her more than the grandmam at this point. Like, I understand. Like, you keep telling me, like, they always think that they're doing what's best. But it's obviously not working. And they need therapy. You know what? I think that this grandmother, at the very least, she's the one who needs the therapy.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. All the grandmothers need therapy in the show. That's really what... Gap? No, it's grandma needs fucking therapy. Grandma needs to get a grip.
The spin-off show. The grandmas get therapy.
Yeah. No, literally. That would be amazing. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. So, like, obviously, little Nung and her grandmother have a very complicated relationship. And it's mirroring the relationship that Big Nung and the grandmam had, right? It's love mixed with fear, which not healthy, but that's what it is, right? And I think part of the problem, just in general, that I think these shows are trying to, like, portray, and that's why we keep having these age gaps, is that this grandmother-granddaughter age gap and the power imbalance of it creates problems, okay? Because and I understand the principle of that it's very elder revering. It's like, you know, with age comes wisdom, with age comes authority, and you're supposed to subjugate to those with authority and the wisdom. And, like, I understand that. I'm not saying that is inherently wrong. What I'm saying is that a consequence of that is it creates these power imbalances between relatives where it could potentially turn toxic, which is what's happening in these grandmother relationships in these shows. And for little Nung, like you've mentioned, Kaitlynn, this is stunting her development into adulthood. It's why we see her as a child. It's because, like, she spends time with Big Nung. She was acting like an adult in the prior scene, having a normal conversation with Big Nung, who's treating her like an adult. Then she comes home and is immediately beat down back into the box of being a child who obeys her grandmother, right? So it's like, that's confusing for anybody who has to like kind of like it's almost like a double life in a way where she kind of has to like toe this tightrope between like acting like a child and then like being an adult when she's out. It's terrible. Like, and it's so like it fucks with her behavior, right? Which we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
And then to talk about the grandmother's point of view. So like in defense of the grandmother, I'm not really going to defend her a lot, but I think what's going on with her, because we get the scene where she lashes out initially at Little Nung because she's afraid, okay, that her fear is that Little Nung is going to get pregnant like her mother did. That's why she's worried. She's like, why didn't you come home? Like, are you the man? Like, that's what she's worried about. Because she was a little too trusting with her daughter or whatever, and that there we are. So she sees that as a failure, right? And she doesn't want history repeating itself. So she's way too strict and way too overbearing and like corporal punishment-y with her granddaughter, right? And we get this scene where Little Nun goes upstairs and then she drops the stick and looks at her hands and starts crying. Like this is all taking a toll on her too. And if you think about it, she didn't ask to raise a second child. Like, she didn't ask to be in this position. She didn't ask to, like, go through motherhood basically all over again.
She technically did when she sent the mom away.
But, like, I mean, she did adopt the role, but, like, she didn't ask for this. Like, she didn't ask for her daughter to, like, have a child. Like she's in this position. She was in this position because she's trying to preserve the family, and she thinks that that's what's best. But, like, she didn't ask to be in this position. In the same way that Little Nung's mother didn't ask to be. Nobody asked to be in this position, right? So, like, that's a lot. Raising a child is a lot. Raising a child when you're older is taxing, right? So, like, that's a lot, okay? Just having children in general. And she's doing this alone. Like, where's the grandfather? She's doing this alone, like, for 20 years. Like, 20 extra years. So, like, 36 years she's raising children. That's a lot, okay, when you didn't ask for it. So just, there's that. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying she's in the right. I'm not saying she's in the wrong. I'm just saying that is a lot to put on anybody. 36 years of child rearing. That's a lot. Right? So she feels that, like, I think part of her feels like this happened out of her control. Because it did. Because her daughter went and did this thing she couldn't control, right? And she felt that she had to take on the responsibility of raising Little Nung so that she can be raised the right way and she can, like, make amends for what happened to Pingfa, like her mother. You know, so when she's looking at her hands, I think part of her is asking herself, like, how did I get here? Like, this should be my daughter's job. Like, I shouldn't be in this position, but here we all are. Like, it just, everything spiraled out of control because of this, like, again, it's like that societal, like, box that everybody has to be in because Little Nung's mom didn't fit the box. Like, everything fucking fell apart. And, like, this woman is just trying her best to keep everything in the boxes, you know, the traditional boxes, and it's just not working. And she just is losing it, part of it. And she's not, is she handling it the right way? No, like, she's not handling this the right way, but I think she's at her wit's end. And she, look at her. Does she have a support system? No. Perhaps all this isolation that people are in is not good either. Because, like, she can't confide in people about this because they'll look, she's one of those people who's, like, obsessed with how everybody else perceives her and, like, gossip and all that shit, so she would never bring this up to other people. In fact, I'm pretty sure she never talks about her daughter because that would bring shame, right? So she can't, you say she needs therapy, but, like, yeah, she does. She needs somebody to talk to because I don't think she feels like she can, because then, like, that's admitting the shame and, like, you know, like, I feel like this is all, like, shaming people is such a bad thing because people end up, like, doing everything in their power to hide what they're ashamed of. It's why Little Nung lies. And, like, the grandmother's kind of doing a similar thing, and it's spiraling out of control. And it's like, people get hurt in the process when we can't be honest about stuff. I think that's unfortunately the bad side of things like this. Like, people romanticize traditionalism and stuff like that, but it's like, here's what it actually looks like when you're trying to, like, fit in those really rigid rules. And it's just like, people don't always fit in boxes. And, like, you know, the more you try and control it, and Little Nung says it later, she's like, about her mother, she's like, the more my mom tries to control me, the more I hate her. And it's like, that's also happening with the grandmother a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. I didn't read much into the grandmother. I like to pretend she doesn't exist.
I know.
Her in chat.
It's fair, but all these characters play a role, you know. So Little Nun goes upstairs to hide in her sanctuary, and when she's alone in her room, she, like, knocks over the novel that's sitting on her desk and picks it up to, like, read an excerpt. And the book is Pluto, which was also written by the same author as Blank, which is, I can't, Chow Pla Noi, I think is how you say her name. Good job, ma'am, in your cinematic universe. Great product placement, by the way, because Pluto keeps showing up, and then later Blank, the novel, shows up. So, like, good job. Good on you. And the excerpt she reads, I love. And I feel like this is a theme in a lot of these books and shows in general, where she says, love has no reason. If you can find a reason, it's not love. So confirmation that, like, Little Nung is kind of like a hopeless romantic. And then she has this, like, vision of, like, Nung looking at her without the glasses. But I would argue that, like, her and Big Nung actually have real reasons to, like, be into each other. And it's not that it doesn't have a reason. I think there are definitely reasons, but anyway. Can't wait to read Pluto now, because that line comes up a lot. All right. Then the next morning, then we time jump to the next morning, and we see Little Nung leaving her house. And the minute she gets outside the gate, her countenance changes, and you just see her, like, brighten up and just looks relieved, and she, like, skips away. And it's, like, it's so sad that, like, she's so repressed at home that, like, ugh, I hate it so much.
I just want to hug her and tell her it's all going to be okay. Big Nung, do that for us.
Yes, Big Nung, hug her. She needs a hug, for fuck's sake. Other important thing from the scene is that when she's leaving, we get the exterior shot of the house next door. And I'm pretty sure I said this in the reaction video. I'm 100% convinced the house next door is Sam's house from Gap the series.
It'd be hilarious if she actually lived next to Sam and they just didn't know it.
That would be 100% on brand for Sam. But they do establishing shots of Sam's house in the show, and it's a different house. But it's the Gap the series house. I'm pretty confident. Like, even the trees are the same.
Oh, okay. I see. You
Sam?
put the other house. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah. I remember that window, and I was like,
similar. Well,
I'm pretty sure it's the same house.
Yeah. Looks legit.
Yep.
Great job, Faye.
So we're just, again, the houses connect all the shows. That would be really funny if Sam lived next door. Like, for real.
Someone make the universe with the houses in, like, The Sims or something, because I think that'd be funny. With, like, the big palaces.
Who lives in the Bua Palace, then? Everybody lives in the Bua Palace, then.
Yes.
I'm just going to refer to that house as the Bua Palace, the yellow one, because that's what it is.
Then who has the white one? Wasn't the white one the Gap house?
No, the Grandman lived in the Bua Palace in Gap.
Okay.
There was no White House. There's this house here that's Sam's.
Okay. I thought there was a white one. I think I was just getting the yellow and white.
Oh, maybe Mon's little house? Oh, no, inside with the white balcony. Is that
I think that's what's, like, throwing me off.
That's the inside of the Bua Palace.
Yeah. Okay.
Quote. But, like, for some reason,
the outside has to match the inside. No. I don't know.
But also, it's also confusing because in this show, the inside of the Bua Palace is a different Actually, no, we see that staircase also. Like, that's the Bua Palace.
No, it's the same. Yeah,
it's the same. It's the same. It's just in front of us.
Actually, I think at one point we saw that the inside changed.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they used the interior of two different palaces.
I think that's exactly what they did. Yeah.
Because we were confused at what. We were like, wait a minute, now we're in Gap.
I was also, there's also a confusing part later where, like, I think they switch the interiors for sure, because there's a scene in season 1 where Nung tries to steal the books, and she, like, goes to the bedrooms, like, and it's, like, different than when later in season 2 when she takes Little Nung on a tour, and she's like, that's Sam's room, that's Song's room. I think, like, they changed the interior in season 1 and season 2. Anyway, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not.
While Little Nung is very happy to leave the torture chamber, the grandmother goes into her room, because no privacy allowed, and finds all the drawings of Little Nung, and then she makes an evil face. That's all I could describe it as.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Darn. Because you break them, don't have to burn them.
But here we are.
Okay, so then Little Nung thinks, all right, how can I have an excuse to go see Big Nung? First of all, you don't need one. But
No.
she brings Big Nung food. And then Big Nung's like, how did you know I was hungry? And Little Nung says that, I'm your girlfriend. I have to know these things. And then Big Nung calls her delusional. But anyway, Big Nung, you will always accept food. It's not hard to figure out that food is the way to get to you. Like you let her in because she had food once. You are always getting food now. Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, you get food out of it, so. And you
Yeah,
get to
like
see the face.
exactly. And again, like little Nung figured out and clocked the fact that food is her love language. And so that's good girlfriend behavior to like learn that and be like, okay, my girl likes food. I'm going to bring her food. While Big Nung calls her delusional, when she gets the food, there's this smile that slips on her face because she's like, oh, you care enough about me to bring me food? I mean, you didn't make it. You're not Sam level yet. But, like, this is pretty good. Like, she's clearly pleased with this, even though she's pretending like she's not. She is. Because this is her love language.
For her to make something, she'd have to live with Big Nung because there's no way she can make something at her place and then take it somewhere else. The grandmother
Could you
would
imagine?
never.
Could you imagine? Her grandmother would literally kill her. She'd be like, who is all this for? You don't know other people. I made sure of that.
You're using the food that I buy for someone else. She'd probably make her be like, all right, sit down, serve it. We'll have it together.
Right. No, exactly. And then it'd be like the worst date ever. Yeah, exactly.
But so then Little Nung sits down and Big Nung's like, where will my customers sit if you sit there? And then Little Nung starts looking around and is like, what customers?
That's so true. Also, like, why do you have only one chair? Don't you have two chairs? You were sitting and Chet was sitting. Don't you have two chairs? What? Anyway.
But then we get the next stalker of the series, who we will learn about later.
Yeah, so Nung notices this dude creeping around, a Big Nung, and she is holding the food and is like looking like that's really suspicious. This dude is like staring at us. Okay. And then Little Nung distracts her because she takes the food out of her hands. And then she like tries to be cute. She's like, okay, it's girlfriend mode. I have to feed you because that's what girlfriends do, right? Let's do this right. And Big Nung's like, that's too much. Like, she tries to, like, put the little dumpling towards her face, and that's too much. So Big Nung masterfully grabs her wrist and, like, feeds Little Nung first. And it's really funny because Little Nung makes this surprise noise, and she's like, oh. And Big Nung looks really smug that she just did this, and then she's like, was it good? Because food equals affection, and if this feels like flirting, back to the food flirting. And Little Nung's like, yep, I love it. And she's just like, I win. She fed me. It's cute and funny.
Yes, this... Ooh, I forget their last name. Anyway, this family is really good at food flirting.
Oh my god, yes. Food equals sexual innuendo. That's what this felt like.
Fair. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Big Nung was playing along, and Little Nung's like, oh, yay, she's flirting with me. Glad I bought these dumplings. I'm buying them in bulk now.
Then she brings a bunch of dumplings home, and the grandmother's like, what are you doing?
You know what this reminds me of? Remember in Gap where Sam and Mon do like the food kissing game?
Oh, the grocery shopping?
Food as foreplay? No, with like where Sam kept doing the thing where she's like, hold it, Mon, and then I'll kiss you, and it went horribly for a while. Yeah. That's what this feels like, where it's like food flirting. But they catch on quicker, these two. I was thinking,
if she gets a bunch of
buys
dumplings in bulk, it would end up like the groceries.
Where she bought the grocery store from Mon,
yeah. Like, please don't buy us anything else. Oh my gosh. Anyway, after that, Little Nung invites Big Nung to the 100th year celebration of the school being open. And, oh gosh, sorry. Little Nung wants Big Nung to go with her, but then Big Nung's like, you have to go with your grandmother. And Little Nung's like, oh yeah, I guess I do. Damn it.
Also, Big Nung doesn't want to go to this. She was like, that school's already... Oh, but she's like, that school's already 100? What the fuck? When did that happen? She's so uninvolved. I love it.
And then the stalker is still stalking. So Big Nung takes Little Nung's hand and goes with her on the bus.
And this is really sweet. She's like, I think she's like, oh, she's in danger. I'm going to take her home because this is potentially dangerous.
From the minute she met her, she's like really protective of her.
She is.
I wonder why.
It's not in like a weird possessive way. She's like, it's very genuine the way she's protective of her, because she's like, if I send you home on the bus and this dude follows you, like bad things can happen to you. So she doesn't tell her we're in danger. She's just like, I'm taking you home. She like grabs her hand and gets her on the bus. Because she doesn't like freak out Little Nung at all. Little Nung has no idea what's going on. Little Nung's like, yay, she's flirting with me. And like Big Nung's like, we're in danger. It's very different.
Yeah, and then when they get back to Little Nung's house, Little Nung tries to kiss Big Nung before heading, and she's just like, just give me one kiss.
Well, she says, like, I want to thank you. Because she thinks Big Nung is just being chivalrous out of nowhere. Not that Big Nung's like, there's a stalker. I'm trying to make sure you get home safely. Like, get behind the gate. So Little Nung's, like, enamored. She's like, oh, well, let me thank you, my knight in shining armor kind of thing. And Big Nung's like, absolutely not. The gap's too great. Please get behind the gate. I'm afraid for you.
Yeah.
Little Nung safer when she gets inside?
No,
I don't think so.
not ever.
At all.
She is never safe when you get in like 100-foot radius of this place. So once again, she is stopped by the grandmother as she walks in the door, and like it's just no wonder she doesn't want to go home.
It's terrifying.
And the grandmother's like, what guy drew all these pictures of you? And Little Nung says that it was just a friend from school. And the grandmother calls her a liar because who would draw that many pictures of her? And I'm just like, maybe someone who's learning to draw and like trying to perfect something. Like, there's reasons, but not for her. Because, I mean, understand. Ideally, like, if someone's drawing this, like, obviously Big Nung is into her. That's why she is drawing. Also, Little Nung probably tells her to and gives her money.
She gave her money. Money. So, the grandmother follows after the grandmam's footsteps. She doesn't know. Well, they don't know each other that much. So she doesn't know that this is what she did. But this is what it draws back to the Gap universe. And she burns the drawings. Yeah. And really, Little Nung could have saved one of them. Like, that was a slow fire. You know, right? Because, like, think about what she's burning. Like, in there was probably the first drawing that Big Nung ever drew of her. Like, their first meeting. You don't think this girl would want to save that forever, you know? I think maybe that just speaks to how terrified she is of her grandmother. Because even if she saved that, her grandmother would probably, like, kill her, you know? I think she's just that scared.
Because the grandmother walked away after she like lit it on fire. So like she really could have just like dumped it out, put out the fire, like flipped it over and like have the oxygen not go to the fire, and then I don't know if that would have worked or not, but
I think it just speaks to how fucking scared she was. And I do appreciate the fact that they put this in here. It's basically the reenactment from Gap the series with Big Nung and the Grandmam. This was Big Nung's villain origin story in Gap, and so it's interesting that this isn't Little Nung's villain origin story. It's just like a moment of like humiliation and demoralization for her, because that is what happens when she goes in this house. And really, again, the root of all this is just she's worried that some guy is trying to fuck her granddaughter. That's why she's overreacting like this. I mean, she's not wrong. Like, it's just not a guy.
Which means it's fine.
It's fine. There is no pregnancy. You should be into this. Anyway, just benefits. I'm just saying. Okay.
So after that, we find out that Big Nung did not leave because she noticed that Folk was still around. We don't know his name's Folk yet, but anyway. Big Nung catches Folk stalking. Like, basically jumps him from behind. She doesn't jump him, but like, she scared the shit out of him.
Can we talk about Can we talk about this CIA move that she does to get him? Because basically she figured out he was still there at the house. How he did that? Because he missed the bus. I don't know how he got there so quickly, but he followed them. He made up time. And she sees him lurking around the hedge when she goes to leave. And so what she does is she does this beeline away from the house and then like doubles back. So Folk comes out of his hiding spot and is like overhearing the grandmother berate little Nung. And then big Nung doubles back, gets behind him, and is like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, the way she did it was just like a CIA move. I was just like, good job, Big Nung. That was masterful. I love it.
Folk is also the worst stalker, though, and like always made sure he was seen. So,
oh, yeah,
like,
for sure.
he was not joining the CIA.
No. Oh, no. Reject.
But then they go to a random place just so Big Nung can scold him and figure out if he liked her. Like, I can't. Like, they could have had this conversation in the place where they were.
Yeah, I don't know why they okay, so this makes sense for a lot. This doesn't make sense for a lot of reasons. They put the conversation on pause until they're in the mall because later on, Folk and Little Nung are at this exact same boba place. So like they're in the mall. But the Folk is not smart, and he proves it in this moment because Big Nung takes him to a second location. Like, dude, like, cardinal rule number 1, never go to a second location with a stranger. She could have murdered you. Like, you don't know her, and she could have killed you. Like, you don't go to a second location, you say no and run away. Like, this was just dangerous from, like, she looked pissed, like she was gonna kill you. And then you're like, sure, stranger, take me to a second location. Okay, not smart. Just PSA, never go to a second location with a stranger.
Lessons from Theora.
Lessons from the series. Not even if they're. I understand she's a hot, attractive woman, and you're like, shoot. Yes. I mean, if she murders me, I deserved it. I deserved it.
I feel like I would follow her blindly.
Right. You know what? That's on me, and that's fine. All right. So in this conversation that they're having, for some reason at the boba shop, we can't have in front of Little Nung's house, Folk admits that he likes Little Nung. That he didn't mean to be creepy about it. He's just like, I like her. I don't have any confidence. I don't know how to talk to her. And she's like, Big Nung's like, okay, well, if you're not confident about this, then you don't stand a chance against the competition for her. And he's like, what competition? What do you mean? And Big Nung says nothing. But the implication here is that she's the competition and she's more confident. And she's like, you can't compete with me. Like, what is this creepy bullshit you're doing? And he's like, what competition?
There is no competition.
There's no competition. She's like, I don't ever fucking see you stalking her again, or I will kill you this time. And then she walks away. Which, hot. Little Nung should have saw that. Yeah.
Just in the screenshot you have. You know, it's really hard when you have these screenshots in here because I just want to stare at her.
I know. This outfit is a 10 out of...
That's
100 out of 10. It's really good. And the hair, all of it. Just want to hydrate for Faye.
Yep. It's beautiful. Let's do it.
I understand why he went with her to a second location. I do. I understand. I get it. You're the boss.
Just you shouldn't do it. All right, but poor Little Nung is going through it and is crying alone in bed. And she calls Big Nung, but Big Nung doesn't pick up.
No. And if you look at her phone, like, she called Big Nung multiple times, and Big Nung is just like leaving her unread, basically, ghosting her. And I was wondering why she didn't pick up the phone. Because if you think about it, she just went out of her way this whole night to make sure that Little Nung got home safely and then defend her against the stalker. And yet she doesn't pick up the phone. So I think that the reason Big Nung is being silent is because she's, again, very aware of the consequences of their relationship. And I think she thinks that by picking up the phone late at night, that's like crossing some kind of line. So she's like, it's better for her if I don't pick up the phone so I don't blur our relationship even more than it's already blurring. But by choosing this, she's hurting Little Nung, who at this moment really needs a metaphorical shoulder to cry on, because look at what just happened to her, you know? And here she is in her room by herself, completely isolated, crying. And to me, it's like it's a direct reflection of how, like, Big Nung has felt most of her life, like alone and isolated and very frustrated with her, her grandmother and her living situation. But one of the biggest differences between the two of them is that Big Nung had Sam and Song. Okay, so even when she felt alone, even now, when she feels alone, she has Sam. She can go to somebody. And when she was trapped in the palace, she was trapped with her sisters. So she had somebody to commiserate with and to lean on. She had real shoulders to cry on. Not that she was crying, but you know what I mean. Whereas Little Nung doesn't. Like, she is truly, truly alone and by herself. And I've said before that I think that what Little Nung really likes the most about Big Nung is in Big Nung, she feels like she has a companion that understands her. And that's what bonds them from her point of view. And the sad part is it's true. Like, Big Nung can relate to her in a way that most people will never be able to relate to her because of how similar their childhoods were, their situations. And so the irony here is that because Big Nung is choosing not to comfort Little Nung by picking up the phone, Big Nung then spends the entire night worrying about her. She's like, why was she calling me? Like, did the stalker get to her? And she's so worried that she reaches out to Sam the next day because that's her shoulder to lean on. And like, this whole thing could have been avoided if she just picked up the fucking phone. But
yeah, just pick up the phone. You know you want to. You know she wants you to. Just do it.
Other question from the scene. When did they exchange numbers? Why does she have her number?
Oh, no, she definitely like stole Big Nung's phone, and then
while she's painting,
like, face unlocked it, like, and Big Nung knew it was happening too, and she's just like, whatever.
No, like, you're probably right. And the other thing too is if you look at her phone, like Little Nung's phone, she has the little heart next to Big Nung's name, which is really cute.
Okay, so you mentioned that Big Nung meets with Sam the next day. So they go to the mall, and Big Nung's like, there's a pervert following Little Nung.
What a line.
And Big Nung's like, she's already warned the guy. But Sam says, okay, but did you warn your girl? Sam is fully on the Nung Nung train. Woo, woo.
She is. She's embraced this.
Yeah, and Nung is like, that's when she's like, I warned the guy, like, that's all I had to do, right? But Sam's like, you look very worried, which is suspicious. Mm-hmm. And I just love how Sam's just like, I know what this is. I just try to figure out ways to get her to see it. And then Sam also asked Big Nung to go to the 100th year school party thing as well. Everyone wants you to go, Big Nung. You know you're going to end up going, so just do it.
Okay, but I love the scene. I love when Nung's like, Sam's like, I'll buy you a dress. Like, I'll buy you clothes, yeah. Like, because I got money. And Big Nung's like, do whatever you want. Buy me a dress or not. I don't even need to go shopping with you. Whatever I wear, I will look beautiful in it no matter what. And Sam's like, it's so funny.
I love Big Nung.
I love her too. Her confidence and her audacity also matches Little Nung's. Like, yes, it just comes out in these moments with Sam.
I need that confidence in the way that she, like, just presents herself.
Yes.
I need Little Nung's confidence to be able to talk to people. Big Nung in just the way that she presents. Because, like, whew. Big Nung.
Big Nung.
That's what this show should be called. Big Nung. Okay. So, Little Nung is now waiting for Big Nung at her apartment. But then she hides when she sees that Big Nung arrives home with Sam. And of course, Little Nung thinks that they're dating because of the photo that she saw in Big Nung's room. Because you can't have a photo with someone without dating them. Or you can't even look at someone without having feelings, apparently.
I mean, she's just proving in this moment that she's a stereotypical gay that can't do math. Because her math equates to Sam and Nung are dating. But to be fair, this is all very suspicious. Like, the photo is like they were like Big Nung had her arm around Sam, which she doesn't touch anybody voluntarily ever. And then like they do a bunch of cutesy things here because Nung loves her sister. Like Sam is one of the few people on the planet she genuinely loves and is like unguarded around. So little Nung knows her well enough to be like, this shit's suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. This is super suspicious. Okay, so of note during this, so Sam drops her off, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna try one more time to get you to come to the centennial event for the school. But because it's a big event, the grandmam's gonna be there. And Nung's like, oh, fuck no. Absolutely fucking not. And Sam's like, well, just take this dress just in case you change your mind. Also, like, you look hot in it probably. Just, like, whatever. Just hang on to that. Nung's like, free shit. Yeah, absolutely. She's broke. She's like, she's gonna say no to that. So I love in this scene that, like, Sam, again, is just, like, the optimistic people pleaser. And she's trying so hard with Nung, no matter how, like, mean or dismissive she is, because she recognizes that Big Nung is being really defensive about the grandmother, too, which indicates that she's hurt about this. And I think Sam understands that. But, like, Sam is kind of like Little Nung, where she's like, I'm going to try and wear you down. But she's nicer and more subtle about it than Little Nung is. And I think that Big Nung knows this, and the reason she never, like, truly gets mad at Sam whenever she does this stuff is because she knows Sam's heart's in the right. Sam is, like, the biggest heart on the planet. And she knows that, like, she means well by trying to get her to reconcile with her grandmother, but truly the grandmother thing is, like, is the hill she's willing to die on because she feels like the grandmother owes her an apology, really. And then she said some famous last words here where she's like, how about this, Sam? How about you come back to me and ask me to, like, move into the palace when the grandmam dies? Then I'll come back. So, famous last words. It's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
These are some haunting words. I'll say that for Nung later. But before Sam leaves, Nung does physical affection, voluntarily stuff with Sam, where she, like, pats her on her head and, like, gets down, crouches, and gets, like, eye level with Sam, which is, like, a sign of respect and, like, affection. And Little Nung's seeing this, and she's fuming. She's like, I got a head pat yesterday. What the fuck? Like, you just got a head pat and a bow? This is some bullshit.
It's okay, Little Nung. This is how Sam learned that head pats are affectionate, and that's why she gave Mon a little head pat when she was younger.
It's true. Oh my God, you're right. You're right. Mm-hmm. That is true. Other thing to note, and just remember in this scene that's about to happen between Big Nung and Little Nung, remember Little Nung just came off having the worst night of her life and was, like, abused by her grandmother. So she's not in a great place right now, and now she's watching this go down with Sam and doesn't know who Sam is. So, like, yeah, she's not doing okay right now.
She's trying to go to her safe place right now.
Correct.
And it's not about to be safe.
Right. That is what's happening here. Yeah, exactly.
So they start talking, and basically Little Nung feels defeated. And she's, like, saying things like she should just give up fighting for her because there is no world where she can compete with Sam, because in her eyes, like, everything that she's seen, Sam has it all. And she is just a child. That's how people treat her. And we get that in another conversation, I believe, in the next episode, where she, like, fully admits, like, if I had all these things, maybe I would be worthy of you. But, like, it seems like I can't compete with all these other people.
Yeah, and I think it's not so much the money. I think the money is part of it, but I think the nail in the coffin for Little Nung was the fact that Big Nung was affectionate and is clearly close with Sam, and she's not close with anybody. And Little Nung knows her enough to know that that's a big, like, red flag. Like, for her, she's like, that is competition. Somebody who's you're being close with. And one of my favorite lines in this conversation, because Big Nung doesn't know what's going on. She's like, she thinks it's amusing. She's like, oh, you're jealous of my sister? That's how much you like me? I think in the beginning she's into this because she's like, wow, you're trying to compete with my sister too. This is weird. Because she enjoys the attention and the persistence. And so when Little Nung brings up the fact that, like, Sam is competition, Big Nung says, well, basically you can't compete with her. That girl has everything. And I love this line because it's so true on so many levels about Sam, because Sam has, like, a good, good relationship with everybody in their family, basically at this point, for the most part. She also has Mon, like a love of her life, and then like her family's acceptance of her relationship, and then she's also this crazy rich person with quote a job. So like she does objectively have everything, and I don't think, but Little Nueng can't see the full extent of the everything. Little Nueng's just like, she has you, therefore she has everything. And yeah, so from Little Nueng's point of view, obviously that's discouraging, right? Because Sam is objectively a perfect person when you just look at her. But the thing that's most alarming is that, like, why the reason Little Nung showed up at this apartment is because Big Nung was ghosting her today and from the night before. And to find out that the reason that Big Nung was ghosting her is because she was with this perfect woman that has everything, like, including Nung's affection, like, that's what really kills her. And I think that's why she really deflates and, like, why I should give up. Like, clearly I can't compete with her on any level, and she already has your affection, and I have to fight tooth and nail to get you to smile at me. So, like, I think that's the root of it. And Big Nung's reaction to Little Nung wanting to give up, like, seems like an overreaction, and it kind of is, but she's hurt by this, and she's very defensive about her feelings, and so because of her emotional immaturity, she can't process it, so instead she just flips it onto Little Nung, and it just comes out as anger, and all of her insecurities, like, get thrown at her. And like, and this is something Sam understands that her sister does, and like gives her the room to like have her outburst before she can process things. But Little Nung has no idea what's going on. She doesn't understand. Big Nung can't really process big emotions yet. And the thing that like concerns Big Nung in this moment is like the fact that Little Nung is losing her confidence. Like you could see her physically deflating, and she's like, I can't compete. And then she's like, where did all this, the audacity of this bitch? Where's your confidence? Where did it go? And it's like, girl, do you have amnesia from the night before? Like, you fucking destroyed it by ignoring her for almost 24 hours. Like, like, girl, and it's like, clearly Little Nung is not okay. Like, in this conversation, she's not bubbly at all. She's like, she was defeated the moment she got there, and this just made it worse. And I think Big Nung is too much in her own head or in her own feelings at this moment to like empathize with Little Nung like she usually does. So it just blows up basically in a horrible way, and it's just, she's falling back into basically past behavior, and she's just putting her own feelings above Little Nung in a way that like goes beyond reason, and just acts super irrationally, because a rational person in this argument would be like, that's my sister, what are you talking about? But she doesn't do that, because for Nung, it's not, Big Nung, it's not really about that. This is her worst fear coming to life in front of her eyes, because Little Nung promised her, she's like, I'm different, I'll never give up, I'm not gonna give up until you see me as worthy. And here's Little Nung giving up. Like, that's her worst fear, is that no one is actually worthy of her, which means that like she will never have love. And I think that like, because Little Nung was so persistent, she let herself believe, oh, maybe I can have love, maybe I am worthy of it, and she's having these feelings too that she's coming to accept. And so like to have it, a quote in her mind, abruptly end like this and have history repeat itself, that's why she's so mad, and that's why she's like lashing out like a child against Little Nung. It's because she's afraid and she's terrified in this moment and doesn't know how to handle it. So she just attacks Little Nung, which is not how you handle it.
I think it's obviously also because she is just starting to realize her feelings, and she's starting to let herself feel them.
Yes.
And so like right as she is letting these feelings take over her, that's when Little Nung is stopping the fight. And because no one else has fought for her, like she's like, okay, well, her fight proves that she wants to be with me, but if she's no longer doing that, then is this one-sided now? And it's just too much going on in her head, because she hasn't been able to process these feelings before. She didn't know what's going on. So all these feelings are hitting her at once, where Little Nung has been able to process them. But now Little Nung has been beaten down so much by her grandmother, and then her own insecurities, because they are insecurities seeing other people around Big Nung, and knowing that she is still in high school, and like, it's the way that people treat her. People treat her like she's less than. So her confidence can only go so far when other people are telling her that that is not who she is. Like, if you say, I'm great at something, and you keep working for it, like, you're great, but you have constant people telling you, like, no, you're not great, you're terrible, you're terrible, you're terrible. Eventually that confidence is going to wane, unless you're just not human.
Yeah, and like in this scene, it almost seems like Big Nung is not behaving like a human. Like, she's being inhumane because she's throwing these unrealistic expectations onto Little Nung because she's scared and she's afraid and she's hurt and doesn't know what to do with that. So she's just, and this is what these grandmothers all keep doing. They just attack the person that's making them sad instead of like processing all this shit. And so it's the breaking of the promise, because like everything you just said, and the fact that Big Nung was starting to believe, like, she's like, does she even mean it when she says she loves me? I think she was starting to believe that. And then she's like, wow, then clearly you don't love me. And so what she throws back at her is like, don't promise somebody shit if you're just gonna like be wishy-washy about it and just give up at this insane obstacle that isn't even real. Which, like, no, you could clear this shit up and you're just not choosing not to. Because she's mad that she would even have the audacity to break the promise. Because to Big Nung, again, a promise is something I think she sees as sacred, like the word love. And she's like, okay, well, she really means it because she keeps fighting for me. And then, like, to have her give up in what she thinks is so easy, she's just like, I can't believe you would even do this to me. Like, I never fucking want to see you again. And it's just, ugh.
Yeah, she kicks the already sad puppy by saying, you're not worthy.
And then she's like, I never want to see you again. Basically, is what she says. Which, like,
yeah, I never want to see your face again. Like, that's so mean.
What a shitty way to end the episode. And it's just like Little Nung's crying in the lobby. That's how we end. She had like the worst fucking day of all times. And that is where we.
There's a lot of pain.
It's so much pain. It's so much pain. Will we ever be happy again with the show? I don't know. Gotta keep watching, I guess. All right. Any final thoughts before we close this out?
I think the overall takeaway for this episode is this is why we can't have nice things.
I agree with that, and also exile. Like, the end is exile.
In what way? The end.
Because,
the end. Okay.
Yeah, basically the end, because they're fighting and they're not on the same page, and
yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Now Little Nung's in exile.
Listen to it soon.
It's a great song.
All right.
Big Gay Energy Award.
Yeah, I was trying to figure this out. I'm thinking it might be Sam baking the pie for Mon.
Oh my god, that is so cute. Yeah. That gets it too. What gets it for me from that scene specifically is Mon doing the sham thing.
Oh,
like
yeah.
The nose boop.
That was really cute that was added.
So
and I wonder if that was in the script or if Marissa added it.
Marissa just did it. Yeah, either way.
Because it was such a big part of Sam and Mon.
Yeah, just Marissa.
Is that in the book?
I don't know. The book's not huge. These books are, you've read, Loyal Pin. The books are very like, it's like mostly dialogue. It's less descriptive of actions and things. So I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. I don't know. I can't confirm it. If you've read the book, is the nose booping from Mon, is that in the book? Or is that did Becky just do it in Gap? And it's just, that's canon now. Either way, it's great.
All right,
cool.
Well,
so, Kaitlynn, take us away.
If you made it this far in the episode, we want to know. I'm going to give you a word to use in a comment or review. Reviews are funnier. Without looking up or spelling. So today's word, for no reason whatsoever, is fuchsia. Fuchsia. It's a color. I'll give you that.
All right, so somehow use fuchsia in a comment without spelling it, or without looking up the spelling. And until next time, hydrate for lesbian Jesus.
And gay it up all over the place. Bye.
Bye. And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube.
Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing super gay content.